Oh my god, it's Diet Pepsi Man. You arrived just in time. I just got a call from Ringnes Bryggeri, and we've had a problem with the supply lines. That big bad man Putin from Russia has boycotted our supply of aspartame. Please, Pepsi Man, you have to run across Norway and use our magical Pepsi powers. If Norwegian men and women don't drink their daily 4 to 5 liters of diet soda, there's no telling what will happen. It could be a riot. People will become so angry that they will tear down toll road stations and wind turbines. Please, Pepsi Man, you have to do something or the welfare state will die.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Longhouse, now new and improved with all the various vaporwave lo-fi aesthetics that is befitting of a niche right-wing online stream. As always, I am joined by, of course, my co-host Luddic, who did an excellent job on this week's intro. Welcome.
No, thanks. It's looking at the comments, I can see people actually enjoyed it. So, I mean, the kind of the point of this stream was that I would have some more time to prepare for a more thoughtful stream that we would do next week about the open society. So I would spend less time prepping for this one, and so I could prep for the next one. But I end up just spending my whole time making this stupid fucking Pepsi Man video. But I'm glad everybody enjoyed. Nordan, I'm going to put this on my channel afterward.
I really enjoyed for all the Norwegians listening in or watching this. There's a bit of a couple of Easter eggs in the translation text when he talks to Pepsi Man. A lot of great jokes. Now I see a lot of people are joining us in the chat. I hope you all enjoyed the little pre-show sort of thing we had going. It's something we're testing out to see if it's something we want to keep doing in the future, just to help people, gather around the campfire, so to speak, before we start our streams. I see some of the usual suspects in the chat, but I also see someone maybe a bit new, like someone like Jorsa, who I think have hung around the channel for a while, but it's I think it's the first time I've seen that name in the stream. Of course, Nordan wielding the banhammer is back as always, and I'm drinking a beer right now because it is way too hot. We were talking about it in the pre-lobby. It is about where I live. It's almost 28 degrees, and for a Nord like me who isn't quite used to the heat quite yet, this year it's been a bit of a cold spring. It's been a rude awakening today. Suddenly, it's way too hot for me.
Yeah, similar. I don't think it's. I mean, you'd mean 28 degrees Celsius. Because that's like really, yeah, that's really hot. It's not.
It is.
It's not that bad where I'm currently. So I'll consider myself lucky. It's closer to 20, but I mean, you really notice the difference between the Celsius degrees.
You really do. Sorry. So today is a bit of a news roundup, and this show kind of, as you said, was made as a bit of a stopgap to the next one, because we had a couple of like political stuff we wanted to cover, but it sort of like grew as the week went on, and stranger articles were published online, and the Pepsi thing just sort of sent us over the edge, I suppose.
Yes. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening in like this month for some reason. There's even more stuff we could have put in here. I saw new articles today that I was considering talking about.
It's the heat, Luddic. It makes people do weird things.
Yeah, it's the heat and the combo that people are getting sick of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So they're starting to write about other stuff.
To write about.
You get a little bit more variety in what's happening in the newspaper.
Yeah, people aren't clicking on the current thing anymore, so we gotta up our game, right? Now I'm thinking we're just gonna head straight into it. And if anyone have any questions or things they wanna, ask us as like a Q&A kind of thing, just post it in the chat, and I'll save it for later. And we'll go through them at the end of the stream. Now, before we get in here, I'm just gonna start up my presentation tools here. There we go, and a quick like that, and a translate. Okay, so the first last week in 3 walrus emojis. It's Wall by Summer. I posted a picture of this series on my community tab here on YouTube. But there's been an incident of a walrus in southern Norway taking over a small, well, it's a dinghy or a rib type small boat, and he refused to move. And considering the name of the channel and it was never really my intention to have like an animal avatar and sort of embody that kind of stuff. I just needed some sort of like alias, right? And Walrus, which is something that came to me as an option. And but now I suppose I have to just sort of wear the brand, right?
Yeah, you own it now.
You've
fused your identity to this thing. You're not getting out of it. But I mean, it's a good, it's kind of a good moniker. Walruses are very funny animals, so they're quite intelligent as well. They make a lot of weird sounds. For those of you who probably looked that up on YouTube, like they can do whistles and clicking and a lot of these really quite like broad capacity in the amount of noises and weird communications that they can do. This is in Kragerø, so like this typical vacation town in Norway.
Yes.
Where you go, like people have cabins there, and if you like to ride boats, and of course that's a good place for you.
So firefighters were called when a walrus ended up in a leisure boat on Saturday afternoon. They got it out of the boat, but the walrus swam back in. But he refused to leave. He became ungovernable. Sorry, I interrupted you there, Luddic. Is there anything you want to add?
It's no problem. He's in the Extinction Rebellion or something. But no, I mean Kragerø, just as an aside there, it's like these places along the coast that are, like I said, these more dedicated vacation towns, and it's fun to go there. It's just not a place that you want to stay, because it's actually, like, as usual, these places are quite depressing if you go there on any other time of the year. It's not
in the off season. A lot of these places can be quite drab,
but it's just full of alcoholics usually. I mean, any place where they like paint seagulls on the walls of their houses, I just do not want to be there. It's something really off-putting and depressing about them.
So I'm just going to read this article, and we'll take it as we go. The leisure boat, a rib, is moored to a floating pier just outside Kragerø. It's a boat that is deep in the water because a walrus has gotten into the boat. We have people on site who are trying to get it out, said the on-duty officer for the firefighters to the press on Saturday afternoon. There were people who reported what had happened. It's not known if the animal is injured. The boat is hanging onto the mooring, but the walrus is lying asleep, so we were a bit confused about what to do. It's a little... Oh, he's saying like it's quite large, so we're just gonna have to wait for a bit.
You think they used a bucket of fish?
I don't know. later on Saturday, duty officer Tom Berger informed NRK that the fire brigade had gotten the walrus out of the boat, but then it swam back into the boat. So for now, it will be allowed to lie there until it wants to leave on its own, says the foreman. The Coast Guard has cordoned off the area so no one goes out to the pier with the walrus. We have been out there and asked people to pull away, and then we set up barricades around the area. And this is the same walrus that was apparently in May observed sunbathing on a pier not far away. And it appears that it's named Freya. And it's a she, apparently. So I can confirm that it's not me. For anyone in the chat who may think I've put on some weight.
I wonder, it's a female. Is that correlated with the size of the tusks? That they seem a lot smaller than
no
you usually
idea.
see.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Despite the moniker, I'm not actually very well versed in sort of like walrus lore. To put
Name
it that
the top
way.
10 walruses.
Yeah, name every walrus. Yeah. So that was just a bit of a fun start to the show here.
Granighet, is that what they call
Yes.
it in Norway? It's kind of.
I see.
It's
Glow in the
nice
dark
to hear
says
some funny things. Yeah.
Glow in the dark says I need to lose some weight. I am trying, and it's working. It's going down. Walrus girlfriend, yes. Okay, next up, we have spent almost an entire stream talking about the phenomenon Reset, the newspaper dedicated to sort of calling it alt-right is a bit of a stretch, because that means something different in an international context. I don't know what you would like to describe it as.
They describe themselves as alternate news, right? So they want to use that as like alt-rock almost. I mean, they're not like hardcore white nationalists or anything like that, but they try to. Well, they basically, try to go for this more classic liberal free speech, low threshold to entry, low barrier to entry type of news site, where it's a lot easier for people both to comment and to submit your own articles if you have opinions. And of course, that's, I mean, it's a type of, I don't know, I've probably mentioned this previously on the show, but I remember when I was a teenager and I was going to the gym, there was like the sudden crackdown in my city on like steroid use and other performance enhancers. So everybody, seems like it was a sort of coordinated attempt to get all of these people out at once. So everybody who were found out to be using some type of performance enhancer in the gyms, they were just expelled. Basically, they had their memberships removed. And one guy opened up, this kind of basement gym that's open 24/7. It's like every Jews had every like petty criminal Reuter just ended up in the same gym at the same time. And like I went there a couple of times, and then you could just see people who were shooting up in the locker rooms. And like this is kind of like what Reset is from a newspaper standpoint. Yes. It's like the people who got thrown out of every other newspaper. This kind of like working class anger.
And it's kind of like, regardless of why you were thrown out, you're welcome here.
Yes. So they welcome you there. And I mean, the comment section is usually completely on fire. They, like I mentioned, if you go back to the meta politics stream, I think that's where I talk about it. And they basically always struggled with money, and not just from, they had low funding from investors from the start, and they have a lot of viewership, but they've not been able to capitalize on it in any meaningful way. So it is this type of internet problem, is that you can keep building it up, and you can keep blitzing this business to grow bigger and bigger and get more viewers. But at some point you have to make money,
it?
Right?
Yeah.
And apparently they were, I think they've been going for 5 years now, and they've not been able to go in the green yet. And a lot of the people who were on the board, like some of these quote unquote based billionaires, Øystein Spetalen, he's left the board. Christian Doblu has left the board and sold his stock. So it's basically the Monica Stuff. That's the wife of the late Tor Erling Stuff. These kind of Norwegian celebrity lawyer. Like she's like majority shareholder of
basically
this.
Like the old guard of like the old right, I suppose, who's backing it now.
Yes, and they apparently had too many disagreements with Helge Lurås about the direction of the newspaper. So he has been put on sick leave. I think like half of the staff, like him and 4 other people, been put on sick leave, which basically just means that they're looking for other employment while they're still cashing out salary.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think that's bon voyage for this newspaper. I mean, you could put up the link there where they talk about I mean, the web page is not going to go anywhere, but it's the based tranny from the Progress Party that's taking over as editor in chief for the magazine now.
We'll get to it. Argondo says there's never money in the extremes unless it's a niche. Well, I'll have you know that my subscribe star is currently at $30 a month, I think. So you've been disproven.
Yeah, we're gonna be rich. I mean, you're seeing the we spent how much? Yeah, we spent like $5,000 for the Pepsi Man video. We got someone in Thailand to put it together for us.
So it's all coming together, guys.
We're using the money
on top of the business
wisely. We're gonna buy Teslas by the end of 2022. That was the plan here. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess he means that we are a niche, I suppose.
Yes. Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm gonna pull up the article here real quick. Disagreements in Reset. Editor on sick leave and being replaced. Editor Helge Lurås is on sick leave and says half the staff is no longer at work. Paper is aware that there's been disagreement for a long time between Lurås and the board of the online newspaper. That's just some history. So there are now 5 people currently not at work.
Yes, so this is the VG article, but I mean, if you go on Reset, you can see the picture that's written directly by the tranny, basically who is going to take over. So I mean, it's not a lot of article. There you go. So that's
this person. I forgot.
So that's her. She's been like one of the main contributors in sort of the based tranny camp. So it's full tranny supremacy over at Reset from now on, and
it is.
I mean, she's just going to go in the same direction anyway. I mean, I never felt like this, aside from the comment section, Helge Lurås and Sharika, they were never that hard right anyway. I mean, it was mostly just counter jihad. So I mean, you can't expect some of the same type of content unless you were like fanboying Lurås or something.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he had the potential, I suppose, but after our sort of like memeing about the podcast he and Sharika did, it feels like it's a lot of bark and no bite.
I feel like if you listen to that podcast, this is not the podcast of somebody who's doing well. I mean, he sounds chronically tired in these podcasts. Like you said, he's just fucking exhausted of all of it. He just wants out.
And I can agree, like if you're on your like 5th or 6th year or whatever of like everything is going to shit and nobody reads your paper, or a lot of people reads your paper, but it's just weird conspiracy theorists and people who hate you basically.
Yes,
I guess he's just sort of checked out.
Yeah, he has seemed a little bit checked out in the latter bit, and he's probably tired of a lot of these sort of low IQ like Q-tards and people in the comment section who they'll get pissed at him if he doesn't sort of go along with every like super far right talking point.
So this paragraph here is pretty much sort of the death sentence of what Reset has been, I suppose. I think it's known to some that I stand for a more moderate profile than many can associate with Reset, and it's clear this will be felt. We will prioritize increasing the quality of our journalistic work, broadening Reset's profile, and ensuring better cost efficiency. So I suppose they're just gonna reach out to more popular markets. I don't know what that is.
This had to. Maybe. I mean, this had to happen. They could, try to
like LGBT right wingers. Is that the new?
Yeah, that's the new niche, the anti-pride LGBT crowd.
Yeah,
but they do exist. I don't know.
Oh yeah, sure, certainly. I mean, it's the quote-unquote silent majority, I suppose, of the gays. Not to say that the LGBT, population is a majority, because I think like worldwide it's like 2% of the population, right?
I think it's the YouTuber Ubersoy who has he does a video where he does like a breakdown of like the trans community, and like surprisingly, the trans community is quite like diverse in terms of political affiliations. You think that they were all like this sort of like super Marxist lefties, but you have a lot of these, like this woman Maria Saylor, these kind of like conservative, like more almost like right wing, Republican trannies, which is, I mean, to me, it just comes off as like the whole thing is just bustling, but they do exist. It's it's more common than you think.
Now, I'm not sure if there's anything more to say about this than, it is what it is.
Question is like, what's next for Helge Lurås at this point?
Yeah, I
don't know. Like, where are they gonna go?
Yeah,
he's alienated. Like, I think he'd burned every bridge, to do this project. Basically, burned bridges with politicians. The people at like the Foreign Relations Institute, they hate him. He's been divorced from his wife, and he's married to this this kind of screamy. Okay, I'm no slurs. We're just gonna.
Well, yeah, but if you listen to those podcasts, I mean, I can just imagine what he has to put up at home.
Imagine that stuff. Oh my goodness. He left like some kind of like some Eastern, like some Slovakian wife for this.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have been really tired. He is
not even his own kids.
No. This kind of what do you call this? Extroverted, more excitement-seeking person, right? I think he gets bored of routine, so he wanted to do something else. That's the only way that I can sort of explain this.
It might be that at this point he's just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna. Anything is better than what's happening right now.
I know that there are people who, I know there are people who think he's sort of a fed, but I honestly I don't really believe that. I need to see some more actual evidence. I'm just gonna wish him good luck at whatever he's gonna try next. Because don't be shocked if you see him like behind as the cashier on the sort of local grocery store or something. Like he's sitting at Rema 1000 or something, just kind of packing grocery bags.
Yeah.
At least he's gonna have to do that until they put him on like welfare permanently. They have the there's at least some standards and requirements in the Norwegian kind of welfare system. Before you can get
of course.
permanent check.
You have to try getting a job before you. Yeah. So anyway, we'll update you when we know anything more about what's going on. But I mean, it's not like we had any hopes for reset anyway. But it's. I
mean, the hope is just
going this way. That it's been sort of like it's now like it's been infected by like what's the Warhammer thing, the Tyranid nests or something. Like it's just going to start producing like it's going to wear the name of reset, but it's just pretending to be right.
Yes, but I mean the thing was never that hardcore in the first place. The thing that's sad about this is that Helge is basically like he's a very educated, competent, driven person. And it's sad to see people like that kind of waste their time on projects that don't go anywhere. Like they actually chose to dedicate themselves to these projects, hoping to get something out of it, and it just falls apart over and over and over again. And I think that's the theme of this, some of the stuff that we're going to look at in this presentation. Mm-hmm. How
just being ground down to sort of like nothing.
Yeah, you can't make it work. You can't organize. You can't make money. The will is there, but. It's just not in the cards. It's something that needs to be studied. I think it's one of my like almost favorite subjects. Why like right wing organization in these Western industrialized countries never seem to go anywhere. Always fail.
Why do they never? Well, I mean, part of it is the cathedral doing cathedral things with sort of like we covered that in the metapolitics stream in terms of like getting funding and backing, but it also always seems to attract people who promote infighting and splitting and
yes, I mean that's the other thing, because
minded people might say that that's on purpose, but it's
I mean you can always blame the system, right? I mean, but I feel like we're becoming like too much like these sort of hardcore Marxists when they talk about like the failures of
everything,
all of these kind of like Soviet states, and it's like the United States' fault. Basically, it's like some kind of U.S. embargo. It's whether it's Cuba or like North Korea, Russia, like whatever it is, if it's failed, it's always because
It's
like
always
the US put in some sanctions or some
Yeah.
CIA coup or something, and I mean we end up sounding too much like them.
Real alt-right.
It wasn't. They didn't
publishing.
actually practice that stuff. But,
Yeah.
it's just a pattern here, because I mean you could look away from. We're going to get to the Norway Democrats. I mean, you can look away from all of the external pressures, because there's so much internal strife
just
there.
like
That's just constant,
horribly combative personalities. Always trying to one up each other instead of focusing on the enemy. And I mean, That's been a huge thing in the dissident right for quite a while, with the whole like clear them out versus positive visions versus yada yada, and infightings and trad cats versus Nietzscheans, and prots versus cats, and etc.
It's very rare that you see, at least in the modern, let's say post World War II, any good, consistently functioning right-wing movements at any points. I mean, the Human Rights Declaration really screws that up in one sense. I think, I heard it first from like Thomas 777, the idea that, with the kind of Human Rights Declaration, right-wing politics is basically made illegal. And I didn't think much of it at the time. I thought it was a little bit weird, but the more I've been thinking about it, and like as a sort of preparation,
his sort of like lens that what we're living in is explicitly anti-fascism. It's not that we're something else. We're anti-fascist, and that's everything that defines the West, right? Everything that was included in fascism then has to be outlawed, pretty much.
Yes, I mean, for the upcoming stream, I'm reading, Karl Popper's The Open Society and Its Enemies, and looking at some of George Soros's books. And I mean, from like the kind of Popper, critical rationalist liberal view, you could sort of divide up this political spectrum into the kind of the liberals versus the historicists. And the historicists basically have two camps. Like you have the pessimistic historicists, that's like the right wing, and the optimistic historicists, that like the Marx and Hegel wing, that's like the commies basically. And he spends most of that book criticizing Plato as like being the progenitor of all kind of like right-wing thinking, where like you get the idea that something is just has like a sort of like a pure form in the world of ideas, and
a higher metaphysical value,
and
which is sort of the basis for. I can understand the argument, and we talked a bit about it, because I mean that forms the basis for a lot of right-wing thought.
It does, but it's also like the Plato's Republic is explicitly inegalitarian, like it's explicitly hierarchical, and depends on a caste system. And when you implement stuff like human rights, it's just like this radical flattening of these structures, basically. So there's no possibility then to have like an authentic kind of like right-wing society when you still have to implement human rights the way they are conceptualized and implemented currently. So that's one of the problems as well. It's like we have to operate in this kind of fake polar system where like being liberal is being right wing, and being like a Hegelian or like being a Marxist, that's being like left wing, basically. And that's the dialectic that you're presented with. You like the actual, like you say, the true right. It's not on the table as far as politics go. So trying to make that stuff fit in with the world that we live in, it's extremely complicated. That's part of the reason I blame for like why these movements always fall apart, because they seem to be a failure of how do you actually integrate these values in a proper way. Nobody can seem to agree on it, and they're like stifled by laws basically, and the entire kind of framework of looking at the world. I'm not going to dwell too much on it because I lose all the material for the next stream.
We have to save it. I think we should go to our next. Let me see here. Let's go to our next slide, which is this one. This is going to be one of those, what's the meme? Twitter rules prevent me from commenting truthfully on this issue. You had some BAP quotes you manufactured in our private chat, and
I don't know if I can
that we can't pull up, but they were very correct. But this is obviously a lot of right wingers have have caught on to the fact that our youngest crown princess, I suppose, means she's the younger sister of our crown prince, and in that sense, the furthest away from the throne, have become engaged to the what does he call himself? A shaman,
Yes.
and a
So it's
philosopher or something. Durek something. I'm sorry.
it's one of these
Durek
shamans and one of
Verrett
these
is his name. Yeah.
alternative, coaches.
Yeah.
And I mean the aesthetic of this, it just screams like blacked all over the place. It's pretty effing embarrassing.
Now,
but
I mean, to Norwegians, this isn't something new necessarily, because we've like they've been dating for quite a while, so we've been through like at least 2 cycles of this already, right? But now that they're engaged, it's kind of serious. And the princess, to begin with, I mean, at this point, I don't understand why her dad hasn't pretty much like disowned her, because she's already been married. She's been going on about like she did like some alternative medicine angel worship stuff for a couple of years. I mean, this woman has been insane for like 15 years, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, she has 3 kids, and she was married to Ari Ben. That's like more of this author, celebrity guy.
Yeah, an artist
who committed suicide. So she is basically a widow.
Yeah,
she didn't
committed
divorce
suicide
him
after they divorced, by the way, which is
of
a big
course.
oof.
Damn, I forgot.
I don't.
That makes it even
I don't
worse.
envy him, because, like, yeah, he's a bit of an eccentric weirdo and a Dane, but I mean, he didn't deserve what happened to him. You end up with this crazy crown princess girl or crazy princess girl, and the media hates you for like 15 years, and then she divorces you, and you're left alone with all your sad artist thoughts, I guess. It was only one way out for him.
Yes, I mean, I think it was a good ending for him, for someone like that. The artists are like fish, basically. If they left it around too long, they start to stink. Where it's, I mean, it's a kind of mean take from me, but it's almost better if you're kind of an artist to just end it quicker if you care about the integrity of your vision, because a lot of these artists, I mean, it's so annoying. Like with the COVID stuff, and they say with Neil Young, he should have just like roped himself at 27 or something, and we would have had a good memory of him. But they have to stay around and like do celebrity endorsements and comment, and like they're being used as just political tools, to
like
support the current
puppets.
thing. And
yeah,
it's so embarrassing. It's just embarrassing for everybody who enjoys what they're doing. So
there's
I mean, he had a good funeral, and
that I remember about like artists dying young, but I can't pull it out of my head. But yeah, sorry.
The 27 Club stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, the interesting thing that I wanted to, I mean, okay, first of all, now that they're engaged, and if they get married, then he's basically like 4th in line for the throne. Let's say that the rest of the family die in a car accident or something, or a plane crash. Then this is our new king.
Well, no, he's never going to be a king, because it's going to be like with what's his name? Like he can only achieve like princedom, like in England, because she's going to be the queen regent, like in England or Britain. But yeah, still, he's going to have the office of the Prince of Norway.
Yep, looking forward to that.
That's going to be fun.
Going to be interesting. But
and again, we'd like to say probably a whole lot more, but it's one of those things about saying what we really think ought to be, and what is wrong in a spiritual people's spirit sense here.
But I mean, the reason that I wanted to bring this up is not so much about them directly, but it's more about like the take that's like the popular media take of these people here. So then we have like Abdi Raja. That's
because make no mistake, everyone hates this guy, like in general, right?
Yes.
Like the average man and woman do not like this guy. as a potential member of the royal
No,
family.
I mean,
right?
look at his Wikipedia page. Even the English one, it's completely besmirched by like bitter Norwegians. You can look at the Durek. They talk about he's a con man and he's a loser and blah blah. Like, even on the the Wikipedia, and let's see, you can find it there. And there's the
This is the
this is the Norwegian
one.
one.
Let me
So if
find
you
the
go
English
on
one.
the English one, but the English one is just like a translation of the Norwegian one. He's a self-professed shaman and author. He advocates several conspiracy theories and has been characterized by Norwegian media and critics as a con man. Like, this is Norwegians writing this stuff. He does not have like that kind of reputation. He's actually like kind of a big deal in California. He's worked with Gwyneth Paltrow and a lot of these top celebrities. Mm-hmm. He's like sort of Oprah guest material. Basically, you have so many of the people in California that are into this sort of female self-help stuff that I talked about on the
Nordanen is onto something.
Yeah.
I like this line. In a 2009 interview, Verrett claimed to be born into the lineages of Haitian voodoo and indigenous Norwegian medicine. Which is that Sami? Cool. Is that what
of course, yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to this here, and I'll hit the translate button. Okay. So you wanted to cover sort of some of the reactions to this.
I mean, can you scroll down and just look at the video? Because there's a video where he is like, where Durek is talking to the camera there. Can you just play a little bit of that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm sharing audio. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, just try and we'll see how that works. Because like this is the main take, and that's what I wrote on the slide as well. That it's like, oh, it's just so heckin' wholesome. I just love the fact that she's dating an African, but we're not into this anti-science stuff that he's peddling. That's the reason that we don't like this. It's because he's anti-science. I can hear it.
A lot of our relationship and why people have such an issue with it, and why people write all this hate and death threats to us and all this stuff for being together. Because one, they don't want to see a black man in the royal family, because there's never been one in the history of histories in the European royal family. So that's a huge thing. Second, she's a female. It's different when a royal.
Maybe he's just from like California, but he sounds very effeminate.
He is from California and he sounds effeminate. He is a fag basically. He dated like this Jewish masseur guy for 7 years. We got like buck broken every night. I'm not even kidding. You can look this up on his pages. But let's hear him out.
Prince chooses a woman of color because it's like, oh, he's a man. Of course, he can choose whoever he wants. But for a princess to choose a man of color has never been done in history. And so people, it's really tough for a lot of people to be able to handle that. And so they get very upset and angry and say really mean things and all these types of stuff. But the truth is, they don't understand that our world cannot stay the same. We have to evolve.
Well, and therein lies the rub. You have one set of people who don't want this change that they're pushing, and the other people who are just going to push it regardless.
We have to be...
sorry. Yeah.
No, don't. Just let's hear him out.
A level of evolution has to happen on our planet where we go beyond these stereotypes and these limitations, and we begin to step into another level of consciousness. And that's what our love brings to the world. And that's why people have such an uncomfortable aspect of it, because they just can't perceive a black man in the royal family. They can't.
I can perceive it quite all right.
Perceive that I'm with this amazing woman, and that we're out in the world speaking the truth and talking about real things and not being superficial and not pretending to be something that we're not, and we're really showing up to be the love that we are and sharing it with the world so openly, at the same time acknowledging that there is going to be backlash, there is going to be people who have issues, but we are operating on a different degree of consciousness, and we're here to birth that consciousness into the world. We're not here to tell you what to do or force it upon you. We're just being us, living us, and then stepping into a space of authenticity within that, and letting people experience whatever they need to experience.
Right.
I mean, my view on this is that basically this is like the bell curve, where you have like the low IQ, like football hooligan Norwegians, like, oh, I don't like him because he's black. Then you have like the midwit is like, oh, and it's nothing to do with color. It's because he's anti-feminist and has like weird anti-scientific views. And then like my view is basically, no, it's because I don't want him there because he's black.
Well, that's the thing, like everybody agrees that this guy represents something that we are not. Right.
Oh, most
in
certainly.
Every way, in every single way, down to the color of his skin.
But I mean, I just need to take the piss out of this, Norwegian midwit journalist take, because this is the same. Like if you scroll up, and you can see the politician there, Abdi Raja, that's like this white passing, Pakistani descendant.
Yeah, an excellent sort of guy at playing both sides at once. By the way. Like
yes,
being able to like in one sentence be white.
He's a good boy. He's a really good boy. He's like one of these. What's that other Norwegian influencer, Dr. Wasim Saeed? Who's sort of this YouTuber guy. It's like these white passing Middle Eastern guys in Norway. They're like Labradors.
Most of these are usually, I will say, Iranian immigrants or sort of descendants of Iranian immigrants who came here.
This guy's Pakistani 70s. Actually, but I think
I was talking like in general, not Raja and specifically.
But I mean, what you see from these guys is just pure ambition. Like they want to get somewhere, and they have to just adopt the code that they think what people want to hear. But to me, knowing like the conditions that are where they come from and like the kind of temperament that's associated with their like genetic lineage, I mean, it's just like obvious phony bullcrap that he's peddling. Let's if you read the he's less cringe than that. I mean, he's not Indian level of cringe, but
fair enough.
He's
I don't know. I understand where you're going, Monophthalmos, and I guess, but
I think they're smoother, honestly. A lot of these Iranians and the Pakistanis, they're a lot more smooth in terms of blending into the ideology scape than the Indians are. I think I commented on this in the previous stream. Like a lot of these Indians, they seem to miss a lot of obvious points of how it's supposed to be done. But the Iranians, I mean, they're so smooth. Just like that woman from the Workers' Party, who was in trouble because of the housing stuff. Like they're so smooth. It's incredible. We'll just read this kind of subtitle text here. Is it the skin color of Jurek Verret that people react to? No. The liberals, Abdi Raja and Alfred Bjørlo, think it is all his statement as a shaman, it's including about the cancer and Norwegian women's sex life that weaken his credibility. So it's not because he's black, guys. It's because he's not feminist. He doesn't perform with our feminist values. And
if you read anything he says, like I mean, obviously he isn't, but in the way that he delivers it, it can seem quite based in the way we've talked about this before, like the forwardness of other cultures can come across as quite based to us who have.
But he's not really. I mean, he's not this kind of authentic Ethiopian prince who's just going to speak his mind about women should be in the kitchen. He's not going to be like that. He's going to be like this faggy California, old woman spirituality.
You have to open your mind to my dick. Yeah.
Oh, we're reaching the next level of consciousness. We're bursting through. We need to birth the consciousness. Do you feel like?
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, what he said that was controversial was that women who had many sex partners, they carry some sort of like footprint inside their vaginas of all of these men that they've slept with, and suddenly all of these politicians, all of these politicians and economists become gynecologists and assure us that no, in fact, even if you do sleep with like 300 men each year, you do not, in fact, there's nothing that happens to your vagina. All these experts, all of a sudden, all these people, these economists, liberal economists, there's nothing that happens. We know this from gynecology, that if you look at the vagina of a woman who has like one partner and a woman who has like 300 partners per year is extremely promiscuous, there's no difference. There's no difference there. There's nothing. There's absolutely no difference between those two things. So So it's very offensive. It's very bigoted to Norwegian women to tell them that they can't fuck 300 men per year, and that's why.
If only this was like, I just had like an alt history where this guy is like a descendant of Haile Selassie, and he's here to return us to tradition.
Yes, please. I mean, the also another thing is that he talks about, we need to reach the higher levels of consciousness, and that social media is like pulling the level of consciousness down, and so we need to remove ourselves from that, and that's also something people have taken offense to. But that's kind of base. That's like the closest things to base that this guy is able to do, is just to say that you should remove yourself from this.
I mean,
you smash your television
can
and
agree
that kind
to
of
that.
stuff.
It's not really, it's not deep esoteric.
Well, if you're
knowledge
uncharitable, like these Norwegians have been, then you basically say that, well, that's conspiracy talk, right? And that's what they're doing to him.
Sure, yeah.
And of course, this dude is foreign, but like these arguments that they're putting up, they just don't hold water, because like the princess herself, she is into all of this stuff. Everything that you can say that's sort of bad about him, you can say about her. Stuff. Yes, I mean she spent her life like doing these sort of angel academy thing where she's come out and said that she's psychic, she can talk to the dead, she can talk to horses, she can summon angels, she can like cure, remote viewing, remote healing, all of this stuff she said, and she admits to, and she's not been rejected, she's not been thrown off, and so she finds like a husband who is into the same stuff, and then it's like the reason we don't like him is that he's into what she's into. It doesn't make sense. It just makes no logical sense. So of course it's just like thinly veiled, this kind of like tribal stuff. They feel like this guy's just foreign and he doesn't belong there, and they're right, but they can't come out and say it because they're like sucked up in this kind of middle class, cognitive dissonance mode of thinking. That look at his fucking face, dude. Look at this good boy, this little Labrador boy. You want to give him a little snack, dentist stick that he can chew on. He's such a good anti-racist.
Exactly what they ask for him.
Such a good feminist. We can give you a position there. You've done a great job for us. Thank you, Abdi. You know that his asshole doesn't work. I don't remember like the article about that, but like there's something where it's like he doesn't have like the hole where the fecal matter is supposed to come out. It doesn't actually function properly, so he's had to have like surgery where he could make the stuff come out properly, and that's like been the chronic condition. He's written about this stuff as an article.
Jesus,
but,
I did not know that.
Just going to
feel like I needed to know that, but thank you.
No, but I'm in the mood for besmirching these people. I'm just so tired of reading everything this guy says. I'm tired of his party, so we're just gonna swing for the fences.
So I mean, but basically that's the gist of this article. It's not that he is a brown person. It is that he is not a progressive. That's the big issue here.
Not the kind of center left liberal rationality science version of progressive. He's like the California woo woo progressive, and that's that's just too much right now.
That's the big evil here. Yeah. All right. I think we should move on before we say anything that gets this channel removed.
We'll have to be on Odyssey then.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I think we're going to end up spending quite a bit of time on this because this is a long article. This is the Pepsi Man moment.
This is what started it.
Yeah, I stumbled across this article and I just started reading it, and it just kept going and kept getting more and more insane as I read it. And here we have in the top right here, you have what do we call him? The anti-coke action guy.
The new black bloc here.
Yeah, the new black bloc.
New blitz.
Let me see. All right, I think I'm just going to have to dive into this and just sort of like read from this article, because this is absolutely insanity.
It is, and you're not the only one who thinks that. I mean, I've talked to other people who also read this one and just thought that this is insane.
And it's not,
what are they doing?
Like a bit, yeah, it's a thing to like sort of like Norway as a whole, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never had sugar-free soda or soda for that matter, right? But the amounts that some people seem to be devouring of this is absolutely insane. So it's 6:30 a.m. Beate Ellingsen opens her eyes and immediately thirsts for soda. The real estate agent from Bærum goes straight down to the kitchen and knocks down a glass of Pepsi Max. Now, for those of you who might not have that, I guess that's the sugar-free version of a Pepsi. She refills it and goes to the bathroom. Just before brushing her teeth, a big sip of Pepsi Max. Like, what are you doing? Right afterwards, another sip. Morning has black in the mouth. What is that? What is that translation? Hang on.
It's growth. It's totally gross, but it's like
okay. It's yeah. It's
usually they have this saying that morgen er gul I munnen.
I love the
like
smell of Coke
is,
in the morning is basically what she's saying. Yeah. I'm totally addicted. I'm so addicted that you can't believe it, she says, and laughs as she like her laugh is echoing in the bathroom. Every day she pours between 4 and 5 liters of Pepsi, and then a weekly consumption looks like this. And that's her with her weekly consumption of Pepsi. Is this the 1.5 or 1.7 liters sizes? I guess
I would say it looks like a 1.7, but it's hard to tell. They all seem to be the same size, so I have no reference.
And yes, you are right. The lady is almost proud where she's sitting. It's comical. It's completely sick that it's possible to go on like this. She says, like, not reacting to her own state.
It's the funny thing is that it's presented as like this feel-good article. You know, like these people have this disturbing addictions.
Ain't this lady quirky? Right?
Whoa! Look at me. I'm just drinking 5 liters of diet soda every day. This is crazy.
I'm such a quirky girl, aren't I? Right?
It's my personality. It's Pepsi Max, basically.
Yeah. What about water then? Do you have room for that in your stomach? No, not even every day. My paracetamol goes down with Pepsi Max, so to speak, which is like, this sentence here sort of like speaks volumes about this woman's life. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to slam down my painkillers with the diet soda every day. I wonder why I have such headaches. I better drink some more Pepsi.
Yeah, sure. Let's get some more painkillers and Pepsi. That'll work out.
And so this completely normal scheme here, do you intend to continue with it? Well, I have a goal of replacing 1 liter of Pepsi with 1 liter of water a day. So I can go down to 4 liters of Pepsi a day. She laughs. Ha ha. The aspartame nation. Ellingson is not alone. On the contrary, she is part of a different society. An alternative soda reality that differs from everything else. This silly gang is called the Norwegian people. So this is in sort of contrast to the rest of the world, statistically. Last year, we Norwegians drank an average of 142 pints. Yeah, I guess that's approximate. Each with artificial sweet brew, according to the Brewers Association. It is completely exceptional. No other country is even close to us, says the leader of the Brewers Association in Norway. What is basically the sentence here is, what's up with the Norwegian people? What is wrong with them, and why exactly us Norwegians? The Brewery Association has no idea, and I doubt they have spent any money researching why. And the country's food inspectors don't know either, and again, I don't think they've spent a lot of money inspecting why. I just can't understand.
They understand it quite well. I mean, this is it's not really that weird, considering I think Norway is in the top of coffee drinkers as well.
That's
like
true.
Per capita. But I mean, this is like getting people to like the seed oils, basically some sort of factory waste product that they get people addicted to as a business model.
I just cannot understand it. It is a mystery, says Professor Runa Døving, a social anthropologist with food as a special field. So soaking your head then and call again if you come up with something, the journalist says. Well, that's not going to happen. I've been pondering this for years with no luck. I hope you find someone who understands. Goodbye, he says, and then hangs up. So the experts just don't know. We just don't know, guys. It's just we have no idea. It's
a mystery, like one of these.
It's a mystery,
big
and
questions.
it just happened. It's just an emergent phenomena. It's just
I have an evolutionary
happens.
psychology explanation for this stuff.
Yeah.
You can bring Jordan Peterson in to talk about how our ancestors used to pound down, this kind of like lake water, that was exactly like this. So we have the gene for doing it.
What is at least certain is that it has completely changed life for some of the inhabitants of this soft drink country. And here we have the black bloc guy again. A young director with several hundred employees here hidden behind Pepsi Max effects tells NRK, the national broadcasting studio, that he swallows up to 4 liters of soft drinks a day. The man sneaks down to the store in the evenings to pawn 6 or 7 crammed shopping bags with soda bottles. In Norway, we do a thing where you can return the soda bottle and get some money back. We talked about that, actually, was it 1 or 2 streams ago when we talked about...
like a security, basically. It's added to the price of the bottle. And if you, it's like 2 kroners added, then you get those kroners back when you give the bottle back.
It's basically you're pawning the bottle to the consumer to sort of like get them to recycle the bottles. The man sneaks down to the store in the evenings to pawn 6 or 7 crammed shopping bags with soda bottles, terrified of being spotted by his colleagues. He finds no rational explanation for his own behavior. Literally an addict. It's well, yeah.
It's a little bit bizarre to be ashamed of that as well. Like, I mean,
he's just ashamed, be like but at the same time, like, look at me. Aren't I kind of a weird, silly guy, right?
Wacky.
Yeah. The lawyer from the capital, also too embarrassed to come forward with her name, spends 20,000 kroner. That would be in pounds or dollars. I suppose you can just like divide it by 10.
Remove a zero.
Like $2,000 a year on soft drinks. And when she has filled the cupboard one time, she filled the cupboard at work with so many empty bottles that it fell out in front of her boss. Shame, oh shame. And there's this like joke gift in the background here, by the way. Some lore about this woman here.
Yeah, average Pepsi enjoyer.
And a box of
liver paste there, I think, or is it mackerel?
Fish liver paste.
Mackerel and tomato.
Yeah.
Oh.
And of course,
why did they include? I didn't even notice the dildo.
Right, she's taking a snap.
Why did you
of this? Because like she has to share how quirky she is with her friends, of course. The owner of an interior design store in Vikersund, Kuanet Rustan Rumkes, says that she buys so much Pepsi Max on the Swedish border that she has her own agreement with the shop. She calls down in advance so the employees can prepare a whole pallet of boxes at the back of the store, and then they straighten it up on the loading. They load it up from the loading ramp into her Ford Transit. So she just, she has a standing agreement with the shops across the border to get her soft drinks.
Yeah, for those of you not from Norway, I mean, it's quite common for Norwegians who live close to the Swedish border to go across the border to buy certain things for cheap, and they cross back again. I mean, especially with like alcohol products and tobacco products. You're considered quite low class if you do this, by the way.
Oh, yeah. John McNamara asks, is there the same cafe culture that you would find in Sweden and in Finland, in Sweden and Denmark that you find in Norway? No, we don't. Well, we have a cafe culture, but it's not in the same way, at least that I know from Sweden. I can't really say for Denmark, but the Swedes usually include a lot of like going out and eating and a lot more sort of like lunches and stuff than we do.
Maybe in Oslo, like you have
maybe in Oslo,
more of that stuff. If you have a small shit apartment there, you'd spend more time in
but
cafes,
even then, it's it's still quite expensive.
Norwegians have good houses, so they stay in them.
Yeah. I mean, like, why go out when you can just stay in your room and drink? That's the Norwegian way, baby.
With your dildo and the
with
liver
your
paste
dildo cup and your fish paste, yeah. So that's how people go about it without fully understanding why. During 2022, Norway will be, by all accounts, the first country in the world to drink twice as much zero sugar soda as sugary soda, according to new figures from the Brewers Association. 2 out of 3 bottles will then be sugar-free soda. And that's the thing, like everything that's been mentioned so far, this is specifically sugar-free soda. And the locomotive for this thundering noise train has been one noise brand. That's a very strange... it's a pun. It's a soda train. So it's the Pepsi Max is sort of the leader of the soda train. The Eternal Black River. That's a fucking translation.
It's ominous, and the text underneath there, dunk, dunk, dunk.
This is basically talking about how the soda is made. They're visiting the factory. They produce 243,000 bottles in one shift, which is to say that, as this article says, Norway drinks at the same pace as the factory produces them, which is absolute insanity. Let's see here. This one brand has 33% of the market. Let's keep going. All right. How is, let's see here. Yes. When Ringnes travels abroad, they are, people abroad are astounded that they have like unseeded Coca-Cola as the biggest brand. Somehow Pepsi has done that, and that's the only place in the world, apparently.
That's interesting.
And how is that possible? When Ringnes started brewing Pepsi in 1998, it was far from obvious that they would put their PR millions into sugar-free Pepsi, because at that time Norway was a sugar country. The sugar use grew enormously in the decades after World War II, says the food researcher Anniken Barbugge. We were newly in love with the American food culture, and Coca-Cola became the drink of the youth. This was... there were bad conditions for sugar-free soda. Tab became Norway's first sugar-free drink in 1963, and people perceived it as a diabetic soda, according to the book Norwegian Food History. And the sweeteners tasted metallic. In the 1980s and the 1990s, it was Coke Light, or Diet Coke, I guess it's called in English, and Tab Extra, who were the diet or sugar-free options. They were surfing a new slimming wave, and finally they were sweetened with the state-of-the-art aspartame. A slimming soda, snorted soda-crazy Norwegians. So when Ringnes then took over the right to brew Pepsi, just before the turn of the millennium, the sugar soda was at its peak, but the sugar-free soda had only 6% of the market. But Ringnes and PepsiCo, Norway, had a plan. What if they stopped focusing on how healthy the soda was and instead talked about how it tasted good? The soda had gotten better, they thought. People just hadn't noticed the difference. The persuasive bosses of the internet, they persuaded the bosses of the international PepsiCo, and then they started flooding the Norwegian people with sugar-free advertising. So if you're wondering where all of this emergent behavior is coming from, I think we found our answer. It just happened.
Is this the emergent post-war fund generation?
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
They
Nice.
spent hundreds of millions, this is probably kroner, of course, and they could play on the stars of the international Pepsi brand, from Britney Spears to Lionel Messi. Thomas Torjussen remembers how curious he became about the Pepsi Max commercials, even though he had originally thought that the soft drink tasted like piss. The marketing of the sugar-free version was completely different, and I was hooked from the very first second. It tasted good, says Torjussen, who today fills his entire shopping cart with the sugar-free version, and of course he's named his dog Pepsi. Slowly but surely, Pepsi Max began to grow. In recent years, sales have skyrocketed. In 2015, Max went past the sugary red cola and became Norway's largest soda brand. Last year, when the pandemic closed Swedish trade, meaning the border shopping trips that we talked about, 170 million liters of Pepsi Max were sold in Norway, according to Ringnes. This is probably half a liter. It is probably half a liter to make bottle trains. What is this? That's enough to make a train twice around the equator. If you like just put them down.
I don't want to think about it.
If you think that compares into time, you can pour out the soda instead, and it would take 50 years to pour out all of the soda that was drunk just in last year. That's insane. And like, I'm not trying to moralize here in that sense, because I'll admit to having, you know, drunk quite a bit of soda in my time, but it's to like stupid levels, right?
Yes. I remember, I don't know if we talked about gaming previously. If what's that game, Dead Rising? Have you played it?
No.
I think it was on the Xbox or something. I mean, it is like the zombie game, but it's. I remember I only played the first one. It's a part of the plot.
No, I remember. I haven't played it, but I remember this one. This is one where you take pictures of the zombies.
Yeah, you run around in the shopping mall. But like the reason that the zombie outbreak happened is that they were trying to do like lab grown meat, and you talk to the scientist like who is actually responsible, and he has like the last words that he says. You know how much meat Americans eat in a year? And it's like, this is what it made me think of. You know how much Pepsi Max Norwegians drink in 1 year? It's like that's going to be the next zombie apocalypse. Finding some cheaper way to make all this Pepsi.
The point of all this is that sugar-free drinks have become big business. In the last 10 years, Ringnes has invested 1.5 billion kroner into futuristic robot arms and packaging machines in their breweries so that they can pump out more and more Pepsi Max with fewer and fewer employees. Is it cynical to create a need in the population in that way? Yes. Yes. Doesn't the globe need 170 million plastic bottles to be driven around? Does the globe is it healthy for the globe that 107 million plastic bottles are driven around the country in trucks? And aren't they playing games of chance with people's health? Some heavy drinkers think so. This is a guy. This is how much this guy drank every week before he stepped it down, apparently.
Yeah, he's not censored himself, so...
Yeah. When 28-year-old Tobias Urne from Askøy passed 4 liters of daily intake of Pepsi Max, strange things began to happen to his body. One night, he woke up and he heard a loud noise outside his bedroom. It must be a speeding engine at full throttle, he thought, but there was no car outside his home. The sound was coming from inside Tobias's head. He felt the feeling of being without his... It was the feeling of being without his Pepsi for too long, so he had a glass even though it was late. Only then did the engine sound disappear and Tobias could continue sleeping.
This is like the Wolf of Wall Street stuff.
Yeah.
If you drink 8 liters, I drink 8 liters of Pepsi Max, and then I go to sleep, and then you hear like the engine sound going off.
Yeah. That's literally it. So caffeine in your body, and then go back to sleep. That is. From that day, Tobias cut down to 1 liter a day. I guess it was the caffeine I reacted to, but I don't know completely, Tobias says today. This is what the soda junkies are most wondering about. They have heard that old-fashioned Coca-Cola is said to have contained traces of cocaine. So what about the Pepsi Max of today? Gods know what, but they have done something with Pepsi, so you get completely hooked, laughs the realtor from the beginning, who drinks soda during her morning routine. How quirky am I? I am addicted to this stuff. Yes, what is it really about the new people's drink that creates such a craving? We put on our hair nets, disinfected our hands, and went into the most sacred thing in their brewery, the juice room. And so they're visiting the syrup sort of storage facility, I suppose. Let's see here. They're showing them the aspartame. They cannot reveal the flavors, of course. The acesulfame K is up to 180 times sweeter than regular table sugar. Aspartame 200 times sweeter. Powders with foreign names mixed abroad, processed by chemists and sent in tubes through German machines. And every day, not just on weekends. This is the Norwegian coziness in 2022. Jesus, this sounds like something I would have written.
Yes,
But just...
it sounds dystopian. I don't think they understand it themselves.
Speaking of, everyone who hasn't, probably if you're here, you probably have, but you should check out, I've made a new sort of solo, I guess, video on the Walrus channel here the other day. If you're into that stuff, there's about 25 minutes of doomer posting from me. And
check it out.
Boomer music.
I recommend it. We get no help from the algorithm on that stuff, so.
No, and I think because I use so much of the music, I've been throttled a bit on the Discovery stuff because of the copyright. But that's just the theory I have. Aspartame is one of the world's most debated drugs. A small collection of Norwegian headlines in recent years say that soft drinks can cause cancer, soft drinks can cause premature birth, soft drinks destroy the skeleton, soft drinks meaning sugar-free drinks, can cause more antibiotic-resistant bacteria in the gut. And of course, the annual sugar-free drinks can trick you into eating more. So, is it dangerous? When real estate agent Beate Ellingsen empties 20 large bottles a week, Jesus fucking Christ. A week, does that mean she gets cancer and intestinal bacteria, and that and that she gets a Pepsi Black skeleton and fat?
So I saw someone in the comments comment that she doesn't look that bad for all of this stuff that she drinks. But yeah, that's the question. We don't know how old she is. If she's like 25, then that would
oh god, no, she has to be a bit older. But yeah,
I hope so. Yes, it still has a lot of makeup, but
yeah, look at her hands there. Like, but I mean, look at the gut tells a bit of a different story here, I would say. You know,
I mean, if you wear all black, right, it's usually because the figure is not super. Like, you're not super proud of how the figure looks.
Then again, you know, if she is aging, that would be a pretty common sort of like aging woman physique, I guess. Yeah. So,
no, we're not here to shame.
No, we're not. It was just very bizarre, this entire article. The short answer is no, at least according to the health authorities. We could dive into and drown in this topic, and there are individual researchers who disagree, but like on pretty much on seed oils and on things that I cannot name that have been pushed on us the past couple of years, right? But for 20 years now, both the Norwegian and the European authorities have largely acquitted the sugar-free drink. Yes.
So in this article, they bring in this debunker. I mean, even you're reading, you'll get to it. But this sort of like national health guy who's like the debunker. Just got to brush your teeth, bro. You can keep drinking the 5 liters a day. I mean, other people have said this already, but like the answer should be like, no. Your primary drink should be water. Like, doesn't matter. Water should be the primary thing you drink. It should not be this fucking diet soda with 200 times sweeter than sugar.
Drinking soda a little bit, sure, you know. I mean, you can't escape it, I suppose. But like just a complete lack of, not even like we'll get to it, but it's not even like all things in moderation, right? It's just straight up, just, you know, pound down the fucking soft drinks. Just more. Just keep pushing. Yeah.
It does stink of like people who own stock in like these breweries. Basically, that's sort of what I think when I read this stuff. It's hard to interpret it in anything else. Like when these sort of health people tell you to pound down on diet soda. I mean, I don't know. I don't have that information,
be aware of
but
the
that's what it
acid
sounds
damage. Yeah, you should be aware of the acid damage to your teeth, especially if you drink small amounts throughout the day. And if you're up to such quantities as some of the soda lovers in this case, or you're pregnant, you should take care of the caffeine levels. But apart from that, the state says, well, you can just pound down or pour down. Oh, that's a nice effect. Preben Arvidsland in the National Institute of Public Health was asked by the A magazine why a health professional like him drinks Coke Zero. He snorted, well, it's just water with taste. And this person from National Council for Nutrition formulates when we call an adult can with a clear conscience drink up to 3 to 4 liters of soft drinks a day without it being harmful to your health, except for the teeth, says the professor in Superior. I'm just trying to think, like, okay, let's look away from sort of the sugary and the aspartame stuff. Just pounding down like 4 liters of water with gas, right? That would fuck me up so bad. Right? And then you add
like sparkly water,
yeah, just sparkling water. Yeah. Just 4 liters of sparkling water a day would destroy me, right? and then you add all of that other stuff on top.
The caffeine as well.
Yeah. So yeah, not even like all things in moderation, right? How are you so sure that it's safe? Or how sure are you that it's safe? 99.9%. So one cannot not ignore that there may be something we haven't found yet, but it's going to be very theoretical. Do you guys remember how stupid people were back in the day when, doctors said, oh yeah, smoking is healthy, guys, just keep doing it. I'm so glad that, that we are smarter these days, that we've
moved on and we're enlightened. Now we're enlightened
these days.
Right?
Yeah.
We have the real
people
science.
were 100 years ago.
I mean, the correct answer, you should usually be just like, okay, it has to be, let's say, the individual. You have to consider that for yourself, and you have to know your body. And I mean, if it doesn't feel good, you should just quit immediately or something. But it's like, nah, it ain't bad, bro. I mean, just
this guy,
if
he wakes up in the middle of the night, he hears strange noises. Just keep going, dude. It's fine.
So I went to the doctor and told him about this loud truck noise, and he just prescribed more Pepsi Max. Basically, that's the solution that this guy has.
Oh, Jesus Christ. But where does the craving come from then? Well, I guess it tastes sweet and tastes good then. I like it myself, both Pepsi Max and the Coke Zero. So you're saying that it's healthy and okay then to just pour liters of industrial sweet brew into your body every day? Yes. All right. Yeah. Just take care of your teeth. That's pretty much what he says. Again, just nothing. Countries all over the world tell their citizens the same thing. Just relax and enjoy the aspartame, folks. No wonder, because the diet soda replaces the sugar soda, and sugar, as we know it, is a heavy burden on public health.
Yeah, this will fix that stuff.
Now we're back to the whole, I mean, maybe this, that's interesting. Like, I guess I'm still not allowed to say the words, but is this an article that maybe wouldn't have been written this way if 2020 to 2022 hadn't happened? Do you see what I'm saying? Like the whole public health, shakeup we've had. What is and isn't public health?
How do you think it changed how this would have been written?
Well, because it would put like prime people, I suppose, to, oh well, if it's good for public health, then it has to be good for me.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so they're basically just giving the orders, and now people are primed to just do it. Yeah. So it's the Klaus Schwab, like, you will drink the Pepsi Max.
You will drink the Pepsi Max. You will live in the pod, and you will drink the Pepsi Max.
You will use the dildo.
We will fill the pod with the Pepsi Max, and you will bathe in it. The aspartame will help you achieve new consciousness. Yes. Maybe that's what Neo woke up in the Matrix. He's just swimming in Pepsi Max.
Or you become enlightened after like 5 years of this stuff. And,
That is why Ringnes calls the story of their Pepsi Max for a fairy tale, I think is the translation. Yeah, not just for the company, but for society as a whole. This has to be like a paid piece at this point. They believe Pepsi Max has helped remove billions of pieces of sugar from the Norwegian wastes. Well, I guess. If you look at it in that way, sure, but what else have they done? 10 billion pieces of sugar a year, apparently. And then they have like this weird guy who is like mourning the death of sugar soda. This is a bit strange. A rapper.
Return to tradition.
Return to tradition. Return to the old sugar sodas.
Sugar soda enjoyer.
Yeah.
Turning Point Norway. We have Fanta
Turning
enjoyer.
Point. Yeah. Soda is life, it says. Well, sugar soda then. For us in the soda environment, this is a shock. Imagine if Vinmonopolet, this is, for the Swedes, it's the Systembolaget, it's the government alcohol salesman, or sales, I guess, corporation. What if they decided that 95% of their wine should be alcohol-free? That's how it feels for us soda lovers.
Interesting take.
Yeah, it's a very strange take. And he blames the authorities because they have been pushing this. Like, it's so weird. This guy's like, this isn't an emergent phenomenon. This is top down. We have to return to tradition to sugar soda. It's so weird. Not only did they make soft drinks cheaper, but then they stand like this in the... here's the... We covered Benthaye before. And they say that soft or sugar-free drinks are the best, and then we do what they say. We Norwegians are very responsive to the authorities.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we were like free thinkers, the open society stuff. It's those Russians that are like brainwashed, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm not sure if there's any more. Let's see here. We live in a completely brainwashed country, concludes Oral B, the objective soda expert. I like that he's basically like...
Open your eyes, man.
Yeah, but it's about soda.
Wake up, bro.
His analysis
I'm putting aspartame in the soda, bro. It's a top-down conspiracy, man.
Blood
like
and soda.
Dale from King of the Hill, like one of these characters.
Yeah. Now we're back to the real estate agent here. We end the article by calling back the woman that we started with. And great things have happened. She's down to 3 liters a day. And that's very true. But there's no question of screwing anything up again. Why is that? Screw. I think this is a play on words as well. Yeah. She's not going to go... Like, she's not going to lessen her intake any more than 3 liters a day. And why is that? Because it's a cozy treat. It's delicious. And then the journalist asks, did you start dreaming of taking a sip now, right in the middle of our interview? I don't need to dream. I already had a glass in my hand. I do, she says, pounding the fingernail against the crystal so it clinks.
I already had the glass. It was pumping into my veins when we were speaking.
I'm already shooting up
I
a
injected it before the interview.
When Ringnes hears that Beate and others drink over 3 liters of Pepsi a day, they say that it's nice that people enjoy the soda, but they also call for moderation and common sense, as with everything you put in your mouth. I like that, in a sense, Ringnes is coming out of this better than the government agencies.
Oh, boy.
And yes, sometimes Beate is a little ashamed. For example, her daughter, who is studying medicine, only hears that her mother drinks 2 glasses a day, even though the truth is somewhere closer to 30. So she's hiding it from her daughter. Well, not anymore, I suppose. At the same time, she's proud that she does not touch coffee, alcohol, or any other sweets. And honestly, for the most part, she thinks that the Pepsi mania is just fun. She effervesces, that's a word, when she visits any customers, and they can bond over being Pepsi Max lovers. She has a fit of laughter with her friends when they are at fancy restaurants, and she smuggles Pepsi in her purse. What the fuck? The soda has become her thing.
This is like Norwegian old woman stuff.
I mean,
I thought this was unique because I knew other people who,
I would
do this
respect her
stuff.
more if it was like actual alcohol she was smuggling, you know?
This is like the real black pill, the Pepsi pill, basically.
The blackest pill. Oh, okay. And you can ask if it's natural for Norwegian people to pour buckets of industrial-powered sugar and caffeine into their bodies. You may ask why they do that. But those who love soft drinks ask a question. Why not? Yeah, why not? Why shouldn't I be able to just do whatever I want? Why shouldn't I be able to just, just walk out in the streets and just, start having sex with the first person I see? That's the society we live in now, isn't it? Ultimate freedom, guys. Let's go.
Let's go. That's the Pepsi genocide. We're being primed to drink black sludge.
God.
Yeah, in the New World Order.
Okay, I guess we spent a bit too much time on this. You want
I thought it was worth it.
A particular individual known as Kent Anderson of the Norwegian Democrats, because there's been some developments.
This is something we touched on previously, that there was the coup and that there's been a lot of struggle internally in the Norwegian Democrats. I have a friend who's more familiar with the history, and he says that it's nothing new. Like, this party has just been plagued with like internal strife since the inception. But they were in the newspaper recently, with a lot of people, removing themselves from the central board of the party. What you call, I don't know what the proper translation would be for like sentralstyre or landsstyre. It would be like, control organs. Like, you have the central authority, and then you have like the nation authority. Prior to this, I didn't know that much about how these political parties are structured, but you learn as long as you live.
Yeah.
And we talked about how there was a lot of different information going out into the newspapers about the Norwegian Democrats, and who's cooing who and who's actually in charge, who's pulling the shots. And so after we did that, we did the previous video, Kent Andersen, who was like the second in command in the central kind of governing board, he made like a 1-hour video where he just talks to the camera about his experience and why he quit and what actually went down there.
Yeah.
So he's the guy that I've taken a closer look at, and he's a very sort of peculiar individual in the Norwegian right. We're going to take a bit of a look at him and look at his like retelling of how that happened, and maybe I'll point out some
before we start
scrutiny, some weird stuff
that I saw with the soda stuff that I just want to get out of the way here before we Dissident said, who paid for the research? Well, you should follow the money always, right? So who paid for it? But there was another question. Someone asked about what was wrong with sparkling water. Let me see if I can find it, as I can pull it up for people who are watching the VOD here. I can't seem to find it, but someone asked, what is wrong with sparkling water? Well, just for my own sake, I can say that, drinking too much sparkling water, if it's the larger bubbles and not sort of the finer brands, can cause a lot of like stomach problems for me, and like acid reflux, etc., and like generally just fuck up my day. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if I were to drink 4 liters of it a day, I would be absolutely destroyed.
I'm guilty of drinking a lot of that, particularly if you work at places where they give you that stuff for free. So,
yeah,
I drink a lot of it. Of course, you can get a little bit. These bubbles. It tends to, it could like harm your throat a little bit, and like you say, you can get uneasy in your stomach. You can get gaseous and stuff. But
and that's something I found that that was something that actually has become a lot better, because as I've been working on my seed oil disrespecting, a lot of the problems with acidity has gone away, and it's allowed me to be able to not be as sort of like I guess, sensitive to that. I guess you would say. But still, you know, if I drink too much like sparkling water or soda, like because it's the bubbles that mess with me, it's gonna, yeah, it's not gonna have, I'm not gonna have a good time. I think that was the only thing I wanted to hit on. I just saw it in like passing that someone asked why.
We can just keep the presentation rolling, looking at this this dude right here. So that's him pictured on the right. I think he's turned 60 recently.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been sort of retired.
I'm gonna have. Well, you can just keep talking. I'm gonna find the image that you
let's find the images
before.
there.
Yeah.
So this guy's like a retired marketer. Basically, that's his background. He was like a factory worker. Then he worked for marketing, like selling copy. I mean, I almost want to retract some of the statements that I made on the self-help stream, where I think that, you know, like learning about marketing is like a path to the red pill. And I mean, for this guy, it's like 50% true. His views are really peculiar, but it's very colored by this kind of individualism, this idea that, you know, oh, we're being manipulated by the system. You know, look at all these tricks that they're using to cow us into, well, drinking Pepsi or doing all this other weird stuff. So, but he is a sort of prolific media guy. Like in the picture there on the right, he's holding the book about like the warned energy shock. You have his books underneath there. It's like the climate anti-climax. Let's see here. We got the Moshu resemblance.
It came out of me.
It's low effort, but it's
his physiognomy tells me that whatever this guy is selling, regardless of how good it may sound, I'm not going to trust him.
Counter jihad, Islamofascism. I've got it all here, friends.
Yeah,
but you need coin, and that's the. I mean, the stuff that he writes, it's like the climate anti-climax. He's like this climate skeptic. That's in a lot of his writings, and he doesn't come from a place of being like this, you know, climate scientist or any kind of PhD expert. He talks more about the phenomena of like the media, how the media is using the climate stuff more dishonestly, and you know, a lot of it has to do with just selling himself as like this kind of comedic personality to a certain specific audience that likes this kind of stuff, where it is more of this disenfranchised, you know, bitter Norwegian working class person who thinks it's really funny to make fun of people at the top.
A bit older as well. Like if you imagine like a slightly older engineer guy who's like, you know, because of his like worldview in terms of engineering, he's obviously on the sort of like right in terms of the counter jihad, right? And this is who he's marketing to, you know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not a young, spry, vital base, but there, you know, he has a lot of people watching, surprisingly, and some of the stuff that he releases, I mean, the quality that he's been able to achieve in the production is surprisingly good. I mean, he works at document.no, which we've discussed previously on the media stream. That's like one of the Norwegian sort of far right publications, where they're both kind of like a news site and a publishing house. And like, I mean, he's been a politician in the Progress Party, and then like the last 2 years he was a politician in the Norwegian Democrats, and now he has like no party or no clear party affiliation because he just resigned his post.
To shill our own work for a bit here, if you're hearing these names for parties, etc., and you're not quite sure what they mean, our very first episode of the Longhouse gives you a map of the sort of the Norwegian layout of where these parties are, but the basic gist is, yeah, he went from the most right party to the furthest right party.
That's it. So
that's not saying much.
The right wing inside the Overton window to the right wing outside of the Overton window.
Yes.
But this happened after like the party was disbanded. I mean, he was a part of the Oslo Progress Party, and that was disbanded because of internal conflict. So he moved on to this the Norwegian Democrats. And then that's where it just ended up with this kind of coup or this internal drama situation. So, well, this guy's kind of, well, what's this guy's deal? He likes, you know, he's scared. He doesn't like the UN. He doesn't like the EU. He's skeptical of climate and counter jihad. I think that's kind of his greatest hits as far as that goes. But he doesn't want to touch on, hardcore nationalism. He doesn't want to touch on race realism. He doesn't want to touch on the JQ. He doesn't want to talk about Israel. His religious. Yeah.
Or is this the other guy? Which one of the guys were the I'm not a nationalist, I'm an anti-globalist? No, that was the other guy.
Well, this guy's like in the same camp, basically.
Yeah, he is.
I've heard of the interviews with him, and he's very iffy about, like, he's asked, like, well, are you a nationalist? And he's very iffy about the answers. He doesn't give a clear answers. He talks more about anti-globalism.
I suppose, like, the optics trick of it. It just sounds so stupid. I mean, if you look at it through the, we talked about the lens of we're living in anti-fascism, then it makes sense to never call yourself a nationalist. But in terms of like the actual definition of the word, if you're anti-globalist, you have to be nationalist. I don't see anything, what is the alternative?
Yes. What does it mean to be anti-globalist and not nationalist? So, and he's atheist as well. Like, not just atheist, the most anti-theist, I would describe him as in his political views. Mm-hmm. So I would almost call this like,
if you watch
liberal
his
fundamentalism
with Lou Ross, we mentioned he's a fundamentalist liberal. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I don't have any word. I used to call it macho liberalism, but like with this guy's like liberal fundamentalism, I can't. It sounds like an oxymoron, but when you're just like if you call for like secularizing state and saying that religion should be illegal inside politics and stuff like that, like only individuals can have religion, like you can't organize in groups with religious ideologies. Basically, I mean, this is like Ataturk levels. This is forcing people to be liberal, and that's kind of like his views on things. And it's a diminishing view. It's like these people get thrown out of within the Overton window. They get thrown out by the woke mob as being right-wing extremists, and then they try their hand in one of these kind of more right-wing spaces, and they get thrown out for being too far to the left. So it's kind of like a losing strategy. They just have no place on the board to where they can fit into.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could just keep running through the slides here and looking at some of these other things.
Do we have to look at him singing?
I mean, I don't know what the chat wants. He, like I said, he's quite prolific. Let's look at the singing stuff. We could, because and I mean, he has like a part of that song that he made for the Democrats. There's he sings about anti-whiteness in it.
Knowing chat brain, everybody's gonna like love the red meat of this guy singing. So
yes, let's do it. I mean, you can get to. I mean, the last verse he sings about like I said, like He has like this anti-white stuff reference, which is quite interesting. So it's like it's really hard to tell with this guy if he's like secretly extremely like high power levels. But let's show the audience.
Maybe we'll be able to get an interview with him if we play enough of this clip to get into.
Okay, we'll be polite here. I'm going to try to be super polite to him. I said I don't know.
If we play enough of this song, he'll like come at us legally, and then we'll be able to talk to him.
But
All right. Hopefully you guys have sound. Let me know. I will say that this is all going to be Norwegian, so I mean, I'm sorry for any international listeners, just skip ahead a couple of minutes if you're not interested.
Et bitte lite folk I et ganske langt land har noen ledere som har startet en brann. Vardene tennes langs kysten.
I'm sorry. What is the imagery here? Why sitting like by the side of the road here?
I don't know. It's just that this does not appeal to young people. You can see that this is clearly something that if you go back to the shot where there's like a lot of people in the photo. There's nobody under 60 there. So there's no young people who's going to look at this and think it's cool, basically.
Yeah, this is like boomer mailing list stuff.
Vindmøller maner til lyst. Men hvem skal ta skylda, se ingen har lyst. kontinent og frie land ble fanget av en klikk. Grenser ble revet, og Kina fikk fabrikk. Et nytt flagg ble flagget så gildt. Ode til gleden ble spilt. Om selvråderett og grunnlov ble det stilt. Det vi ble lovet var ikke det vi fikk. Globalister garanterer, men det holder ikke stikk. De lovet gull og grønne skoger. Vi lovet mangfold og skarpe.
I don't know, maybe that's the thing. Like, he's sitting in the bike lane. Maybe he's like making a statement with it.
Yeah, fuck those people, basically. I think he probably hates bikes
maybe
as well.
Maybe it is. Yeah, which is, you know, that's kind of a weird thing to have a strong opinion on, I guess. But I think there's a lot of overlap with his audience.
In that group, yeah. I mean, I'm listening to it now. I'm actually kind of positively surprised that some of these lyrics, they're surprisingly well thought out and like references stuff that.
Well, sure, but again, it's
actually
like
happens.
He can tell me whatever I want. I'm still not going to trust this. You know?
I mean, it's just cringy. It's just a little too cringy, you know. It's doesn't appeal to my generation.
No. Do we want to keep going?
I mean, if you can get like 2/3, move the
sure.
marker 2/3, and you can get the verse about where he sings about the white man. Let's see.
I see.
So it's after 2 choruses. That's like the last. Here, you can see the. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Here we go.
Yep.
De andre får alt, og du får regningen så rød. Og nå skal omvendt rasisme råde. Hvite mann, han skal få det. Og pressen taus.
Spicy.
Her skal vises ingen nåde. Men det vi ble lovet var ikke det vi fikk. Det eliten garanterte holder aldri stikk. De lovet fellesskap og et grønt Shangri-La.
I think we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's certainly a thing. Hang on. I had like a... This is a bit too close for me.
This is like 90s television, right? The wide angle lens and just smash the face up into the camera.
Yeah.
But I mean, the older you get, you just don't want to do this. You can see every wrinkle with the 1080.
Especially now with the high quality of modern cameras.
you just don't want that. That's one thing that I don't like about all these high definition cameras. That you see those old people, you can see every wrinkle in their face.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. But you know, he's also. I mean, he's making the songs, he's doing the books, and he does like this. You can summon Studium. That's like this weekly show. What do you call this? Like the Young Turks for people on the right wing, or
yeah, that's
like
what I said. Like he's giving me like right wing Cenk Uygur vibes.
You want to show a bit from that show? Because they have they have a channel on Odyssey with that. It's sent through document.no, and I think most of his viewers watch it on Facebook. That's like the platform where he's the most active.
I'll open the Facebook page here.
It would, of course, fit with his kind of demographic.
What is the gist of the song? That's a very nice Murdoch
I like it.
avatar, by the way.
Globalism bad. It's
globalism bad. That's the song. Like, he meanders through like a bunch of stuff. It's he like talks about like energy and climate change and like windmills and green energy, and then he goes talking about like cultural stuff, and then it's like race stuff, and so he hits on like all the big talking points basically. And he's saying that, the globalists promised us all of this good stuff, but now we're fucked. That's the gist of the song. Let me see here. Sorry, what? Is there any point you want me to?
I don't know if we're not getting sound on this one. There you go.
Oh, there it is. Oh, Jesus, that's very loud.
Tredje sesong av nyhetskappladen som eliten elsker å hate.
De elsker å hate oss. Hei alle sammen, og god søndag. Takk for at dere er med oss i kveld. Grunnen til at de hater oss, det er jo at vi ikke bare erter jålte elitepolitikere. Og her snakker vi mobber ikke, vi erter.
They're talking about how much like the elites hate them. But, I mean, if you're... Imagine yourself as one of the elites. Do you even know this guy exists?
No, I think he's able to do all the stuff because he just flies under the radar. I do not think anybody with like a master's degree knows that this guy exists.
Or
in
like
Norway,
care.
basically.
Like, I mean,
don't give a fuck.
He's not posing a real threat to anyone.
No, he isn't.
This,
but I mean, the woman is quite attractive. I mean,
yeah.
You want a right-wing girlfriend, you could hit her up. I don't remember. I think the name is
Rebecca something, it seems.
Somewhere there. But I mean, this show is like surprisingly.
I mean, hit her up, see if she's available. Maybe you can turn her over to the dissident side.
I think she's like secretly super red-pilled. But you see, like the show, they steal a little bit from Louder with Crowder. I think that he's the one who has like this these kind of like shop lights in the background. They
got
do a
his
lot
own
more
Anna
of this.
Kasparian here, so
Yes.
My Cenk Uyghur analysis is getting more and more correct.
Thinking is the shape of his body is at least similar to
that helps. He has the sort of rhinoceros
tan as well.
Yeah.
Buffalo, I guess it's the
buffalo. Yeah. But I think I don't know. I haven't done an early life check on this guy, but wouldn't you assume that there's some Sami stuff in this guy?
I don't know exactly. There's some sort of like Spaniard
is
thing
that
he
it?
has.
Okay. Let me see if I can find a. I'm gonna do an early life check on this guy.
Fingers crossed. I mean, if he is like one of the chosen ones, he's not doing a very good job, honestly.
It does not say who his parents were. It just says where he grew up. That is very vague.
But I mean, if you look from the beginning there, you can see some of the graphics and the stuff that they use because they put a lot of effort into editing this stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you just like watch a little bit, you can see that they include a lot of these.
Dette forandrer seg hele tiden.
It's so loud.
Og kjære seere der hjemme, dette et lynkurs. Alle nyheter som avslører at eliten noen grådige klodrianer bare ute etter egen vinning, det fake.
On second thought, don't hit her up unless you have like a thing for being like degraded. I guess.
I changed my mind.
With that voice, God, imagine.
Knøs. Ja. Og alt som NRK sier den absolutte fulle sannheten med korsbalsen og 10 fingre i nesa. Og nå og for evig. Og ikke motsi meg, ok? Fordi da du fascistisk.
Da du veldig fascistisk. Så
det skattepenger.
Det veldig
det faktisk.
I can't find any more, but they had like graphics in the beginning. Oh, here we go. They've edited like politicians on the carousel. Oh god, okay.
I mean, there are small clips throughout for those who want to watch, but you see that they spent a lot of time editing.
There's a lot of time and work here, yeah.
So
look at this. She has a cup that it says the boss, and he has a cup that it says the slave on.
I didn't notice that actually. That's interesting.
The lore is expanding, boys. We're gonna need some investigators on this.
This has, I mean, a surprising amount of viewers if you consider that it's a Norwegian show.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got more viewers than we have, and like we have an international pool to draw from. But this guy is like,
yeah, we do.
I can't, I can't like throw too much shade on him for that because I think he's successful at what he's done as a kind of media guy trying to find this audience for this exact thing, and the effort is put in there. Like, I mean, the knowledge, the effort, it's all put in there. I mean, it's not for me. Yes. I guess I'm just like not at this sort of. You can't really appeal to me with this sort of thing where the elites are really stupid and greedy and bad, but so we make fun of the elites, but they still rule over you. Thing. I mean, it's too much cope for me. Honestly, I can't.
Yeah, it feels like it's more of an entertainment product than it's anything else.
Yeah, certainly, and like 1 hour is way too long for that kind of a show. If you're gonna do like the snappy sketch stuff, you gotta shorten it down a little bit or do it in segments.
And then there's also clips of him reading from his book, and he has done interviews with Luros, who we mentioned earlier in the stream.
Yep.
Who's now been booted from Reset.
It's too bad.
Those are like long form interviews and like 2-hour readings, so I think you like that.
It's of course not necessary, but one of these book readings. I'm not the audience for the show, and I'm not the audience for the book. And there's something that you notice: the boomer truth is very strong with this guy, just very, very strong. So he talks about, he has a book about climate change and how he thinks it's a hoax, and he reads from the chapter, and like from the one chapter he read, he mentions like the mid-century Germans and the Jays, how the oppression of the Jays, like 4 times in a chapter about the climate. And he throws shit at basically evangelicals and people who are creationists. And
why does he have to talk about that in a chapter
I see
about
that
climate change? I wonder.
Well, he doesn't have to. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's like I imagine like a lot of the audience for the kind of stuff that he does would be in this kind of more like hardcore evangelical base. So I don't understand why he has to go out of his way to throw shit at those people, even if he disagrees with them, and to try to appeal to this kind of center boomer stuff. Like, I guess that's the thing. He's trying to appeal to a center that no longer exists. It hasn't existed for like 30 years, but he's still in this kind of lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
If you look at the next slide there, I think we've covered most of the stuff
this one.
about like the views that he has. But
those of you
the meme that I made there
might have seen this one in the warm-up minutes. It was one of the memes in the slides.
Pretty much, what Harry says, I'm a climate skeptic, counter-jihadist, populist, fiscal conservative, and I'm against globalism. Oh, so you're a right-winger. And then it's like, yeah, no. Because this is something that comes back in that video that he did where he talks about why he left the Norway Democrats. And he said that I won't work with, crazy people. I don't want to work with right-wing extremists, basically. Yeah. And he repeats that over and over again. It's like, but my brother in Christ, like, you are right-wing extremists. Like all of these positions are super right-wing. That's like, anti-globalism. If you want to go out of the UN and you want to go out of the EU, it's not a centrist position. This is not. You're not going to get like the center left over to your side. The only ones
who like legitimately are allowed to hold an anti-EU thing in the Norwegian political sphere is the communists.
Yes.
The Reds.
And you're not going to get them over to your side. Like they have like actual capital. They have like intellectual capital.
If you're thinking that and all of these other right-wing things, then you are extremist. I'm sorry, by the definition of everyone else.
So it's just like in his own head where he thinks that he's like kind of the sane center, he's contrarian centrist.
He's still the sane center man. Everyone else has just gone crazy.
Yes, 40 years ago. I haven't changed my positions in 40 years.
Yeah.
The left me, guys. He's the good liberal. Oh, boy.
Oh, Jesus. All right, let's keep going here a bit with the...
I just want to get into
some party stuff, because that's the thing that's been happening recently is the Democrats have a bit of an internal schism over how extreme they want to be, basically.
Yes. So, like I said, this party has been rife with conflict from the beginning, but now there's been like another round of, people, like large conflicts and internal, internal, conspiring and people leaving and people, sending, cases against each other. So if we start at like 2020, or I think it's in early 2021, where the Oslo Progress Party is basically dissolved around issues like where you see both of the people in the box on the left there. We have Kent Andersen and his wife Ina. That I couldn't find any picture of her, so I just put the trad wife in there. She probably doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
Just for effect, and then you have Geir Ugland Jacobsen underneath there, and both of these two were in the same party basically, and that party was dissolved because of sort of conflicting ideas that they wanted to do more national conservatism. Kent basically says that Siv Jensen, who was in that part of the party, she wanted to take it more in like this kind of globalist direction, or more kind of centrist direction.
To play balls with the rights. Yeah,
so much opposition to it, and I mean, he claims that it's because of like some nepotism, because Siv Jensen has family with people who are like big in, you know, windmills, that are big in renewable energy and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it totally makes sense, and that's the reason that there was a fracturing, and then they end up moving into the Norway Democrats that you see on the right there, where you have the chairman of the board at the time. That's like Makwan, who's the Iranian agent, quote unquote, the based anti-globalist Iranian man that comes from like the Kristiansand faction of. Aside from this, I think he has like part ownership in like a taxi company. That's
he does. Yep.
Background that he has. So I assume, I mean, if you have ownership in that kind of an industry, you have a sort of incentive to want to be anti-globalist. I mean, you want to be anti like Uber, or anti these sort of
pro-immigration anti-globalist.
Well, maybe not even for immigration. I mean,
I'm just joking. I'm making a joke about taxi drivers. Yeah.
And you have Vidar Kleppe, that's on the bottom left there, who also came from like the Progress Party, like way back. Where he's like one of the founding members of the Norway Democrats, and he's been there the whole
Since
time.
forever.
Like the other woman there who's one of these women who sit on the board.
Yep.
So they're just kind of excited because the party has gotten a little bit stale, and they can get some new, talent, or
New
like
blood,
people with experience, basically.
Yeah,
go into the party.
People
that's
from
also
like a respected party, really. Like, so there's a lot of like weight entering the Democrats.
and these guys are not like spring chickens, right? They're doing a bit.
No, just finish your thing. I just have a question from Bingle here.
So, I mean, if you get in guys that are like 50 plus with a lot of experience and like some connections, media connections, understanding how that stuff works, so that's kind of a dream situation, ideally, to come in and restructure things and take some work off your hands. So initially, this was a pleasant thing. So I mean, you could go to the next slide and we can look at how this develops. Or maybe you want to do the question.
Real quick. Someone had asked at some point about where we mentioned it briefly, but their placement is to the right of the Progress Party. And as you said, like the Democrats would be the right on the outside of the Overton window, while the Progress Party would be on the inside of the the Overton window. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
In the kind of, in my opinion, delusional head of Kent Andersen, they would place themselves in the center, right? Because they think that they're we're just like anti-globalist. We're just anti-globalist. We're a centrist, populist, anti-globalist party. We don't we're not right wingers, because we don't support Putin or something. That's like in his head how that works. And this is like some weird boomer thing. Like you saw the same thing with like that guy Ralph Masilemani, the House of Comments guy, who he did his last video recently. It's like I'm going to reveal my party, you guys. This is not right or left. It's populism. It's going to be true populism. What the people want. This is not. I'm not a right winger, guys. So that's like, I don't know how these people think. Like in my view, it's like you have certain signifiers for whether you're going to be placed on. This what you think yourself. But you have to deal with basically the media and the academia apparatus and how they're going to place you depending on like their view of the world. And in Norway, you have like people like the Human Rights Watch with these two like liberal lesbians who are counter jihad. And so if you have like every viewpoint that the Labour Party has, but you're counter jihad, then you're right wing. It doesn't matter like if you say that you're like centrist on taxes or centrist on like export imports or something. If you're like one of these, if you're like climate,
that's how you get into the like weird fucking things that leftists say about like how Norway is like a right wing country, and you get the same thing in like US, where like some of them seem to think that but the right is always in power. Like they some of them have for some reason like the opposite view that we do, I suppose. That I
think that they think that the right for them. The right is liberals, Basically, that's what their view is. Like the right wing is like these fundamentalist liberals. That's what they think, and they don't think about. They do not like think when they say right wing. They don't mean like this kind of like pessimist Evola historical metaphysical right wing. They mean liberal, basically like open society, liberal capitalist people. That's what they think of.
In
when
that
they mean
sense,
right-wing.
they're right. Yeah. If you're a tanky, I guess that makes sense because things aren't moving towards the revolution.
Well, it's not. I mean, there is a. I think it's bizarre, but there is some logic to it. If you look at it from like this complete leftist view, where you're quote unquote anti-imperialism, like these people, like what's his name, Haas or something, that Red Tuber. I'm anti-imperialism, like these people who like they want communism to take over the world. They wanted the USR to take over the world, but they're anti-imperialism.
Yeah,
right.
Because when we do it, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but like they think of something like, say, like the British Empire or the United States, like global empire. Liberalism to them is basically like the fortifying of like the British white man morality, and they're not wrong. So the idea of like exporting that, and forcing that kind of liberal worldview onto other cultures, it can be seen as a form of white supremacy. I don't think that's actually a wrong characterization. I mean, like in the heads of these people, they don't think like that. They don't have these kind of ahistorical, live in the moment liberal people. They just think that this is common sense. But the history of like where does like the actual liberal ideas come from? It's just like a kind of formalization of like this white man Anglo-Saxon worldview.
Yeah, the world you're painting here is basically like the left, like the hardcore leftist and the hardcore rightist are sort of like looking at the modern liberal who's like hooked up to his VR headset and being sucked off by a robot and all of that, and going like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? and that's sort of the take, like, oh, whatever we have now is wrong, but my version is better, but just from the right and the left. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just trying to explain like why these people on the left think that things are going in the right wing direction.
Yeah.
Because they see like because the liberals are winning, basically.
Liberalism as rightism.
Yes, they view liberalism
as leftism.
Yes, I mean, for us, like liberalism is basically just entropy, right? It's just like this completely empty, thoughtless, brainless philosophy that just allows slow deterioration. It's just managed decline, right? From our perspective, that's what liberalism is. But from the leftist perspective, it's quite the opposite. It's actually like the manifestation of like some white man's worldview, basically. That's kind of like forced on other people. And I see where they're coming from, because there is some. Like,
well,
that's
sure,
sort of
like from
question.
That like 2002, I hate George Bush type of mindset, but I mean, reality has changed quite drastically since then. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's we get into this the next stream as well. But that's kind of the tenet of the open society, and like the idea of there's no like hard and fast rules about how this is supposed to be. You just need to have a society that, one, has a democracy, and two, has like equal rights for people. And like the interpretation of how that's implemented, it's quite loose. So you have this system that's like this very adaptive, Fox-like, flexible, piecemeal social engineering stuff to just maintain this kind of liberal hegemony at all costs. And that's kind of what we're living in. And from the leftist kind of utopian perspective, that's just like they're just holding back change. Basically, they're just arresting their utopian historical view of the world coming through.
We could go into the next cycle right now if it wasn't for you guys. Yeah,
they're just like holding it back.
Gay space communism they keep talking about.
Yeah. I mean, but that's like their worldview. That's like what Karl Popper calls like positive historicism. That they believe that history is just moving in this like the progressive direction, and it's just getting better and better, and it's being held back by like center, like Jordan Peterson and like these kind of like center
the
right
intellectual
people.
Dark web. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So a little bit on how these parties in Norway are structured. I mean, you have the central board, or the central control organ, and then you have the national control organ, which is like the central control organ. It's like the structure of a corporation, where you have the board of directors that are the people on top, and then you have like the leader, that's like the CEO, and you have like the political second in command, nestleder. That's basically the guy who will step in if the CEO is taken out of commission. And you have the organizational nestleder, which it's really like the position below the political second in command.
Yeah,
that's how it's structured. Unlike a corporation, the people who are sitting on the board are voted in by the national governing organ.
Yeah,
it's like this kind of democratic coalition of all of
they
the
meet like
districts
twice a year or something, right?
Yes, to vote on who's going to be on the board. So it's not like you buy ownership and they have to buy you out again. Like you're voted in, you're voted out. So after the Oslo Progress Party breaks apart, then this is how the new deck is stacked. Like you have the Makwan is still in the board. Vidar Kleppe is on the board. Like you have the other two. They're not random, but I didn't find good profile pictures of them, and they're not very important to this story.
Yeah.
So, okay, so far so good. I mean, so it's basically like, you know, Kent and Kent's wife, who is put in as like the first and second second leader there, which is something that has been brought up because Kent's wife does not actually have any formal political experience. All she was doing in this party was like,
she's not just filling out the women's seat here.
No, they just basically didn't have. Yeah, they wanted a woman. They couldn't. Yeah, you're right.
Because
actually,
there are rules about how many percentages of women you need to have on your board and in your organization.
That's a good point.
They apply to political parties as well.
They wanted to have a woman in that position, and she was the only one available, although she doesn't have any experience. But she's basically done graphics work for the party, and she does that like with some of
some of Kent's. Look at.
Yeah. I mean, it's improved a little bit since she got on board there. I'm just gonna drink some Pepsi Max.
Yeah.
All right.
It's great.
So I think she's the one who does the graphics for the show that he runs, the one that we watched previously. So she's like a sort of Photoshop, Adobe person, and she's been doing more of that stuff, but she doesn't really have any like experiences in terms of how to administrate a party. Okay, so far so good, but what happens, right? If we're just going to have to go through this timeline of events here, the first thing that sort of causes friction here is that Geir basically announces that the Norwegian Democrats are going to have a merger with the Norwegian Independence Party. That's like this really small party. It's basically the Sion party, like these sort of anti-Quran burning people.
Yeah.
They have the party that they're affiliated with. It's that party, and Geir basically said, we're just going to merge with these people. We're just going to bring them in here, and that created a lot of paperwork and issues. Yeah, there you go. There's the article announcing that. So from like Kent's perspective, this was, he didn't like it because he felt like there were a lot of unoptical characters in this party who, they wouldn't be able to maintain this kind of centrist anti-globalist profile, and it created a lot of paperwork that they had to deal with in terms of the merger, where he felt like Geir wasn't really contributing. He was just dictating how it was going to be, and then he just left the paperwork for them. Of course, he might have a different view on it, but Kent talks about how a lot of these people are like walking around like White Lives Matter T-shirts and stuff like that. So he's like, okay, this is just going to lampoon our chances of getting above 4% in the election. The last election they did, they got basically like 1.4.
Yeah,
I mean, they've never had a very high percent either, so I don't know how they had the idea that they were going to get above 4%. It seems pretty
just like out of ambitious. Nowhere. That's kind of weird. Yeah.
Yep. So apparently, then Makwan, who's the chairman of the board, he signs a contract with Geir, basically saying that if he's not able to get above 4%, if he's not able to get into parliament within the 2021 election, then he's going to be removed as leader, right? So this was sort of a thing where they were already, suspicion in the party where there was, problems between Makwan and Geir that were not able to cooperate properly. So the friction has increased with basically, a differing opinion, where there's these meetings where Geir has the exact opposite opinion of the rest of the board, and he wants to keep taking it more of like this kind of hardline right direction, where that the rest of the board is opposed to it. So after the election is over, then they're going to have a meeting to fulfill the termination contract, and he says to Geir that you didn't make the goal, so we're going to have to terminate you as leader. But then, like, other people from the central board basically stepped in, like Vidar Kleppe, and said that, well, we're going to keep him anyway. Like, I think he's doing a great job. It's not his fault that we got below 4%. So, so okay, we'll just keep him in there, even though they wanted to have him removed. Later, there's like this talk that there's like fractioning inside of the party, that there's a certain this is like elite theory stuff. There's a certain like organized minority group inside of the party that's like holding meetings internally and deciding prior to these national meetings what way they're going to vote. So it's basically already determined in the direction that they want. And so I mean they're holding a national meeting where they basically determine that okay, this fraction exists and this is undemocratic, and this is a kind of mutiny attempt, so we're voting to expel Geir basically. And then the day after, Geir basically calls into like as this kind of like another national meeting where he votes to basically gets a majority vote to expel the board. So they've sort of mutually expelled each other at this point.
They're firing each other.
And so at this point, like, nobody knows who.
To be fair, that's how who's
actually in control of what
can expel the leader, but the national meeting can expel the board, right?
Yes, and that's sort of what happens.
This is all working as intended.
Basically, Kent explains it in the way that Geir did this basically as a kind of counterattack to avoid being expelled. But I think that the people who support Geir basically say that they were going to have that national meeting anyway. That's basically they just do this every 2 years, and they were already like the majority of the people had agreed on expelling the board, because apparently a lot of them were unhappy with Kent and his wife and what they were doing. So I'm not sure where exactly that comes from. Like, I assume either it's because they spent too much time on this sort of media stuff and not enough time on actually organizing the party, or it's that they like he has a retarded direction for it, and they're not interested in taking like this kind of centrist, trying to bring in lefties and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would be nice to get a take from one of these people who were on the other side of it, but I mean, it'll probably come out later if you keep rolling the slides.
Because they're the people who are left, aren't they?
Yes.
So.
Then they arrange
the ones who refuse to be explicitly anti-racist.
So there's a new board meeting after that to repeal the national meeting, basically. So then they have to send the case to Partilovnemnda. That's like this organ where that's like this court of like party intrigues, or like these cases where there's like unsettled legal matters within parties. I mean, I read somewhere that like 80% of their work is basically dealing with stuff from the Norwegian Democrats. Like, they're just completely in the the Pareto distribution they're completely overrepresented in producing work.
Oh, I love it.
It's
just the right wingers feuding with each other. Yeah,
it's the standard thing that they don't want to spend $1,000 putting together a booth, but they want to spend $100,000 on suing each other after the election falls through. So,
do we have the booth in the presentation? No,
but
we did show
not in the presentation, but I think we showed it in the slides. Let's see. So now the people in the board have basically cut out the digital access, where they remove like users to the like the WordPress pages and the internal software. Like they lock people out of the MailChimp and all that kind of stuff. But even though that happens, it's like Geir basically creates like this sort of proto mail account, and he still has like the membership list. So he starts just mailing people through proto mail with another address through like the other basically the members of the Democrats. So they're getting two different orders, basically. One's from the board and one that's from the leader.
Here, because you wrote here in 2021, but this is this year, isn't it? This is 2022, isn't it? Or am I?
I think that let's see. not everything happened in this year. This stuff started basically in 2021.
Okay. So is this because I thought Makwan had to leave this year, or am I?
Yeah, he left this year, but the problem started last year.
Okay. Sorry. So I'm just having my timelines
merger happened
mixed.
last year, and we're just progressively moving from like 2021, and now we're in 2022, basically.
Okay.
I wasn't good at basically getting the time.
May, and this said May. I thought we were still in 2021, but then I.
No, we're in 2022 now. Maybe I mixed up the dates on this one, but I just had to sit through this video of Kent explaining it. It doesn't actually give very good.
Sure.
Had to like try to reverse research when exactly this happened. So.
Fingal says that this is proper micropolitics. It is, and half of these people I don't know about either. So, but it's fun to see, how the right has a tendency to just destroy itself over the stupidest shit sometimes.
Yes. Okay, so now they're sending basically, there's two sets of newsletter emails that's going from, one that's going from Geir and that internal fraction, and the other one that's going from the board, giving contrary information.
That's like peak petty party politics. We're going to make our own newsletter because we're the real fraction.
So, at this point, so it's really like cold, what do you call it, like an ice front. These people aren't, they don't want to be associated with each other at this point. And they talk about, like Kent talks about, he wants to take this stuff to court and get Geir expelled and stuff, but he notices that like Vidar Kleppe is not really on board with that stuff. He seems to be very positive to Geir, and he realizes that basically like Vidar Kleppe has been supporting this kind of fraction from the start, and that there are actually people within who are sitting on the board who's actually been secretly supporting this fraction. So this is like basically let's say like a fraction of about 25 people inside of the Norway Democrats who have mobilized against Kent Andersen, his wife, and Makwan. Mm-hmm. So we're going at like 14th of May here. Makwan suicide watch, like he's on the verge of divorcing his wife at this point, and so he just says that I'm just tired of this stuff, and he just ends up like leaving his position, and he gets like like a parachute, basically a sort of salary.
And a bunch of others from around Norway, sort of like minor people who are part of the local stuff. Also, they either leave or get kicked out because they were part of the other faction, like the one that lost.
Yes. The thing that you see in a lot of news articles about this parachute is that they talked about, like this was something he did for a grift, like, he just wanted the parachute to get out of there. But his salary was not very high. I mean, he had like a salary of 500,000 kroners per year. That's not a lot of money. Like,
that is more or less barely over the median income. So
yes. So I mean, if you have a job like that, you're working overtime. It's a painful job to have. It's something you're doing because you're an idealist. It's not something you're doing to make money. You should just go into something else. Just go into real estate or stocks or something. Yeah. Don't waste your time on party politics. So I don't look at that as a grift. I'm not one of these like petty Norwegians in that way. But after that stuff, like Kent Andersen basically realized that it's over. It's over. Like the majority, even though like he has pending cases in terms of like he has like a legal case for why he's right. It kind of doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter if they don't believe you, right?
No, like, the majority of the party wants him out. Like they don't want him there. Yeah. And they're just like, it doesn't matter.
Of time before he gets removed legally. So
it doesn't matter like what he's telling them to do legally, because he's not able to like the sort of these organs that are supposed to sort this out legally. They're just like shaking their head, and I don't think they want to touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole. And there's no formal rules to they don't actually want to enforce it.
Clothes.
So
in this case, the emperor is Kent. So
he brags about how he did everything. Kent, I did everything legally, and we followed the protocols, and we did everything, but he forgot to make people like him, basically.
Yeah.
So it apparently like this is like super tribal politics. If like the majority of people don't like you, it doesn't matter if you've done things on the straight legally, because you're dealing with right wing, super disagreeable people. Who will just say that, well, the law says that you're supposed to leave, and like they just tell you to fuck right off. And this is kind of interesting because usually in an organization or like a party, you could always appeal to the law or something,
you can lawyer
some
yourself
rules
out
or
of
something.
this.
But that assumes that these people are like actually like right wing psychologically because they respect the tribe over the law, basically. So they don't give a damn. They're just going to sit. You're going to have to force them to leave, and he's not able to do that beyond just appealing to all of these rules that they don't give a damn about anyway. They're just interested in getting their way politically. So, I mean, of course, there's probably another side to this as well, but I'm just retelling the Kent Anderson version of it. If you flip the slide again, we can get to the ending of this. Is that May, and this is of course this is like not too long ago. Now we're in May 2022. They hold a new national meeting and they establish a new board. So we've got a photo of them on the right there, and like the new lineup is like Geir is still basically like the CEO position. Get the second in command there, Øyvind Eikem, which is like, this is interesting. It's really good. Do you know about him?
Only the name.
Yeah, because he's been in the papers a lot. Like he's this kind of like sociology professor that got like basically canceled out of NTNU, like the Trondheim University, because he was outed as being like this kind of right wing person he was like on these right wing boards and participating in that kind of stuff. So he was basically like, well, he wasn't fired, but he had just so much activist opposition inside of the university that he had to quit his job and get a parachute. So the first thing he did after that, it was just go and apply for a leadership position in the Norway Democrats, which is actually good because this guy's a PhD. Like he has like a social science PhD. Like this is exactly
clout.
Yes, the kind of people you need, like some intellectual weight into these parties. And it's not just like pure, trailer camp, Swedish border stuff. It's like some actual heavy hitters in terms of like understanding sociology and understanding the law and so forth. Simone Engebretsen, I don't know who she is. A lot of these people, I don't know. I mean, Vidar Kleppe remains as like the founding member, and they've replaced most of the board from the original lineup. So you have them standing there, and of course, this has been kind of like a PR disaster. I think they've lost some clout for this stuff, but the lineup that you see here, this is a lot better,
stronger.
It's a lot stronger than what they've had previously. I mean, if they can sort of,
it's really been like a tempering process, I think. But it remains to be seen how long it's going to take for them to like actually do anything about it or recover from this. Because I mean, as
of
you
course,
said,
if previous history is a predictor of future history, then they're going to go right back into mud wrestling again.
I
mean, this is like it's like a third world country almost. It's like this new, it's like a new faction every week that's taken over. But I mean, we're going to cross our fingers because there's been a lot of sad news, both with this and the like with the Helge Lurås and Durek and all this sort of stuff. So I'm gonna just pay attention to these people and see how they go and cross my fingers.
Nordanon says, on the subject of right-wing infighting, this might be maybe an unpopular take, but I think the most effective way of stopping it is with a cult of personality a la Trump. The right needs a Caesar or Lenin. Well, and that's something I hinted at with like the whole infighting on the dissident right, and I think I guess that's the idea of the negative vision to begin with, right? That,
I mean, Trump is like the only thing that's Trump is the only thing that unites the American right.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is true.
It's barely So it is true. Like if you have a similar figure, you can unite people behind that, because people, I think, of right-wing disposition is much more likely to believe to follow a man or a person, a personality or a figure, I suppose, than they are to follow a doctrine or system. I think that's just the way the personalities shake out.
Yes. I mean, it's sad that it is this way. The ideal is that you would have some upper class, some honor-bound, like intellectual upper class, like Plato's Republic. The philosopher Kings.
Sure, but we don't live in Plato's Republic, so
nope. Nobody lives there. It's just a metaphysical idea.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, in theory, you're quite right, Nordanon, because not too long ago that person would be a king, right? Or an emperor. But now we live in a democracy, so we have to at least play by those rules for a bit. So I do think that internally you need at least a figure that can be the leader. I'm not sure if this guy is Gerugland. That remains to be
I don't know.
seen,
He seems to be. He's a lot more savvy, at least in terms as you've seen already. Like he's a lot more savvy in terms of tribal politics than I think most of the people there.
Yeah, and that's a good sign, if nothing else. He knows
I
how to play the game.
I mentioned it previously, but he's like this kind of management consultant guy. Basically, that's like his job, to go in, like fire people or just try to sort out problems inside of organizations. So he has a lot of like hands-on experience on how to deal with these kind of internal tribal struggles inside of companies. I think it's a good background to have if you're going into local politics.
Yeah.
And you actually want to play the game. Like I usually say this: if you want to do politics, you do politics. Then that goes out to like guys like Kent Andersen. If you just want to do this kind of individualist media stuff, then you should just do that. If you're like, I can't stand
run an entire party if you just want to, yeah.
Oh, I can't stand collectivism. Everybody should think for themselves and be an individual. And like, if you think like that, just don't go into politics.
Yeah.
Politics is basically like two like monkeys throwing shit at each other. That's kind of the point. That's what it is. It is like friend enemy. It's and you're just masking it.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. Your friend or your enemy, and if you can't respect that, you have to. Yeah,
you shouldn't be doing it. You should just find something else to do. You have to get your hands dirty and actually do compromises and form alliances, build networks, make plans, and stab people in the back eventually. There's just no way around that. That's how you end up getting things done if they don't want to actually do that. Yeah, go back to academia or something.
Yeah. It doesn't get anywhere, and believing that it does, I think is. I mean, we talked about boomer truth, but I mean that feels very peak boomer truth. That you're gonna individualize yourself into democratic political change that makes absolutely
the marketplace
no sense.
of ideas is going to win.
Yeah.
Yes, the highest integrity and the best ideas are going to win.
So I think we'll keep an eye out and see where this goes, I guess.
Yep. I think that was our whole stream program. If there's questions, then we could take those.
If you have any like general Q&A stuff you want to ask, go ahead and fire them in the chat. I have one from Jorsa from earlier about if we have seen the channel Björn Andreas Bull Hansen. I like his takes on many topics. Yes, that's a channel I have followed for quite a while. And he is I'm a bit, but that might be because he is the way he is. I'm surprised I haven't seen him in other sort of like dissident right content, but I think he just keeps to himself for a bit, and keeps it, I guess, Norwegian. I don't know. I don't know why I haven't seen him like do streams
You're
with
more
other people.
qualified than me to answer that. I mean, I know about him. I guess I've seen a few videos of his, and I saw he was on Wolfgang V doing an interview. So he seems like a good guy. Should probably check out more of his stuff.
I'm just surprised that I haven't seen more of him is all, right? And he has like something like 500,000 subscribers or something. So
yes.
So he's definitely doing something right. Let's see here. Knausgård good. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't call it like... I don't know. There's better authors I would read before Knausgård. But it's... I would say it's one of the better contemporaries. but that's more from an artistic perspective, I guess. And I'm not sure how qualified I am to speak with an artistic perspective. Winkle probably knows more about that than I do. The Woodlander has interacted with Bull Hansen, and Morgoth made a video that started out from something he said. Okay, so there is some cross-pollination here. It's probably just that he doesn't interact with a lot of the dissident right figures or does live streams then, I assume. So do we have anything else we want to hit on before? Oh, I can pull up the... I think we've shown them before, but I can pull up the images of the Norway Democrats, the campaign posters, I guess. I don't know if you could call it posters. Here's the first one. Which is, I mean, they just didn't want to pay for a real one, so they just, this is just, you know,
I think we did. I think we showed these.
I think
on
we
self improvement
as
well, but we can keep showing them because they are just as funny. I mean, if you go back to the other one, maybe if we zoom in on them, we should read some of the fine print. So we have here the particle boards. We got the red spray paint, and they have probably like a marker here. So it says here, parallellsamfunn, sharia, din hjelper flere I virkelig lavkostnadsland. So it's like parallel society, sharia law.
No female oppression, no LGBTQ hate, no J hate, security
no anti-Semitism
question mark. So this
is
like the
really small. There's like a bullet point list there with like really small text above.
Oh yeah,
security.
It says Senegal. Is it Tunisia? Morocco? I can't read the last
so
one.
I think it's connected to the text above there. It's like helping real, third world countries like Senegal and Mauritius, Morocco, Tunisia. Okay. And there we got something else. Hashtag våldtäkter, it means rapes.
Freedom of speech, a direct democracy. Something about the EEA, which is the European Economic Alliance, which is EU light, as some call it. Something about Muslims.
Over 60,000 more Muslims with
like living permits.
It's like with permits. So
in the last 4 years, basically complaining about that. What's this one?
Like 1940
attacks on teachers in Oslo schools. Only our Western values based on humanism. Do you think that's humanism? I think it is.
I think so.
And the Christian culture, something in Norway, which is interesting considering that Kent is not a religious guy.
You had to compromise, I guess, on the design on this one.
Yeah.
That the liberal fundamentalism cranked up to 11. See, Democrats in Norway need your freedom of speech, direct democracy. It's easier to see are less integratable out of EAA video surveillance. It says,
something about Morocco and asylum seekers and etc., etc. But it's a bit of a mess. I mean, I think that's the point. Anyway.
I wonder, like, do they sit inside of those particle boards, or do you think they're
that would be great.
To stand on the outside?
I don't know. Maybe there's something behind, and then they like stand in front of them and talk to people who walk past, I guess.
Yep.
But I mean, we're like almost 3 hours, and there's we're out of content. So I think it's time to end it for
close off.
Yeah, end it for today.
This was a
thank
fun
you all.
stream.
Yes, it was. I had a lot more fun laughing at Soda than I thought I would. And it's also fun to get hyper specific about internal party politics sometimes. Monopathalmos here right before the end says, "What is it with Scandinavians and crime novels?" I don't know. I'm not very big on crime novels or crime series. Do you know, Luddic?
Yeah, there are a lot of these authors that actually sell like hot shit. I mean, this is for like Norwegian boomers, basically, or boomer women who. There's this tradition in Norway where you're supposed to read them on Easter, and I don't know what the connection is, but this is you're just supposed to do this. You go to your cabin and you buy these crime books from one of these. I don't remember all their names. They're like 3 big authors who put this stuff out, and they buy it. It's promoted on TV.
I think it has to be like a generational phenomenon, because I think it's from the days when a lot of these crime dramas were imported from British TV and ended up sort of, because a lot of the TV in Norway that was imported in the beginning were from Britain, and I think it's just a byproduct of that. So it's a generation who basically grown up watching crime dramas.
Well, we should maybe do a stream on that. Figure out what's the deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. I've never thought. I mean, you think these things are universal, right? You think people in Germany are reading these crime books, and apparently not.
They're not
apparently.
The case. Yeah, I don't know about Denmark and Sweden. Vingle says that Iceland loves it as well, but they only have like 1 homicide a year tops. So maybe it is like because we have such low crime rates, we have to read about crime to get some excitement in like a weird way. I don't know.
That's one of the things that was brought up in these black metal documentaries, is that Norwegians have, like, the society is so peaceful that they need to create black metal to entertain themselves. It's like the opposite of Latin America, like where everything is just complete
but it's not quite true as
shit.
well, because there's something in our sort of like soul as well that is the deeply melancholic Black Forest stuff. So it might be from that. I don't know.
Yeah, no. To finish the point, he I think it was Varg Vikernes. He contrasted it with like Latin American art, where they Latin America is like this kind of hellscape murder place, but the art they make is very colorful and it's very fun. It's like with the movie Encanto, this kind of Disney film where everything is like just completely colorful and pink and turquoise green and fun, and everybody's dancing and stuff, but like in reality it's just like this cocaine smuggling hellscape, constant revolutions. And well, I don't know too much about Latin America, actually. It's one of the things that I've been wanting to get into, reading some history about what's actually going on there, because I realize it's not the part of the world I know a lot about, other than I find some of their women attractive.
Right.
I'm not doing any bleaching, but I can acknowledge it at least.
Jorsa asks, last question. When is the infamous anime stream going to happen? I don't have a date for it yet. I have started my research. I told you about this, Luddic. I asked my friend for some recommendations, and
I mean, we could do it in 2 weeks or something. I mean,
maybe I've decided that I want to really dive deep into this, and because I wanted to try to start, like, go back and watch, because it's been quite a bit of time since I watched any like of the old like samurai movies, and I wanted to start with that, because I feel
we can bring some people on here if they have some specific show they want to talk about in the context of this kind of political sphere.
And
I have some animes that I like.
Take suggestions for things that are good, because I got some recommendations from a friend who was like, okay, give me your based animes, right? And he gave me some of them, and some of them are like, I'm looking at them and I'm feeling like this is for kids. Like not kids, like this is for young men, right? But it's very strange, because it's like, even though it's very ham-fisted and overacted, the messaging might be simple, but it's something that you don't get in the West. So I sort of see the argument that some people are saying that anime is based, but I mean, like, if you have to filter through so much shit, I'm not sure if it's worth it. But I want to sort of like give it a real look, right? That's my point.
Yeah, I mean,
I
even
don't-
if we can't argue that it's based, I still think it would be fun to at least
Nordanon
look at
says
some
the anime
animation,
stream will be
yeah.
after Walrus has watched One Piece. I will tell you one thing. I'm actually in the process of watching it because I am married to someone who has watched that since she was a tiny girl.
This is a long series, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if you
It's
how
like
fast you can
1,000
finish it.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but we've
It's
been doing it
very
for quite a
shonen.
while. Right. So I don't necessarily actively pay attention to it, but it's something we do every now and then because it comes like out once a week, but since it's like 1 million episodes, right? I save it up and then I like skip through to the good parts basically or something. So yeah, I'm actually I won't say I'm caught up, but it's not long actually. So
I mean, you
there's
have
some
a lot
deep
of
lore
these,
about my power level, but other than that, it's so weird because my like anime watching has been when I was a kid. The Saturday morning cartoons were like Dragon Ball and like Pokemon and like all those things, right? And then I just never touched it after I was like too old for that stuff, right? I just never really touched it, and then when I met my wife again, she was like, "Oh yeah, I watch anime sometimes." She mentioned like the One Piece because she's been watching that since she was a kid, and I was like, "Oh, isn't that for kids?" And she was like, "Well, yeah, but it's become a bit more mature, and there's a lot of like good stuff, right? That she's been showing me.
I think you can, unironically
for
enjoy
adults.
kids
Yeah, but
entertainment as an
there are
adult.
things that are for adults as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
we
but
got
I do
any
find it kind of
suggestions in
funny
the chat?
watching some of these shows again where it's like where this like for young adults or young men with like the overacting and all that, because that's the thing I remember from my childhood where it's like everything is so over the top.
It's over the top, the power levels, screaming and
yeah,
stuff. But I mean, it's great. It's great for a young person. It's a lot of energy and fun. Let's see here.
Yeah.
We got suggestions in the chat. Berserk,
Okay,
Psychopaths.
let's see. Ghost in the
I've
Shell.
seen both of them actually.
Psychopaths is on the list, yes.
Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, of course we'll cover that. Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist.
I have not seen that. I have seen.
It has a lot of like mid-century German imagery in it, which is cool. They love that stuff, right? So
I have seen Attack on Titan
of course.
up until what they did, like a thing where they have like it's called the final season, but it's 2 parts. So I haven't watched any of that. I don't quite remember where I stopped watching it. I probably need to go back.
The end of that show.
And I guess if you like Attack on Titan, you're a racist or something. Is that the? Is that
No,
the
I mean
current
it's
consensus?
like some of that stuff in that show just hits a little too close to home. I mean, they
do.
have these sort of brainwashing segments, and they're
fair
very
enough.
deliberate about like how certain people are just made to believe bullshit about the past, about certain
All
things.
of you guys in my chat are apparently a bunch of weebs. There's like people crawling out of the woodwork to give me recommendations, but that's good. I have a lot to work through.
You don't have to do all of them because I've seen most of these. I mean, if you could just watch the ones that you want to comment on, and I can just do a little bit on the ones that they mentioned here. Ghost in the Shell is good. Psychopaths.
Yes.
I watched. Okay, who's for JoJo's?
I started watching JoJo.
Bits on that?
I started watching JoJo because that's something I got recommended, and I watched quite a lot of it. I think I'm almost because I'm at the final season that's out on now, like the one with the women.
I didn't watch that. That's
the first season was rough, but also kind of nostalgic because that's more in line with the anime I remember. The second season I enjoyed quite a bit as just like a pure male power fantasy. Because I am a power metal type of guy, so if you can give me like some dude who's just a guy who learned how to do breathing techniques, punches a vampire man into space, I mean, sure, I like the imagery of that. It's, you're not going to learn anything about yourself watching it, but it was enjoyable.
I kind of like it just because of that. It kind of just taps into that kind of power fantasy thing, and
Yes.
it doesn't try to.
And
be
it goes
interesting.
quite bonkers after that. I'm not quite sure what to feel about the but I've watched them, so I guess I can't say anything. My wife wanted me to watch something called Monster, which we probably will do, which is apparently a bit more adult, and Psychopaths, and what else? A lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. But there's not enough time and too much anime, and I have like a hard time. Like, I don't want to spend time sorting through all of the bullshit, because I open like I just Google like animes to watch, right? And the first thing that hits you is some like pedo stuff. And I just, I'm like, I don't want to do this, right? I don't want to, so just give me something that's good, that I don't have to interact with the rest of this.
Yeah. It's too much baggage that comes with that stuff. I totally agree, but there's a pony in there. I mean, we can dig through their shit and we can find the ponies.
Now, that was a lot of anime talk. There was one other question about when we were going to do Astrid Lindgren stream. Probably sometime in the future. It's in my list of like shows, but I don't have like a definitive date yet. Because I'm gonna have to consolidate people and the topics, etc. So it's coming. It's on my list. I can't say when. Sorry, did you want to talk more about anime before we go?
No, I think we said most of it. So we'll see if it's not in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We can do an anime
I'm gonna
episode.
need some more time, because I really want to dig deep, because it's been quite fun getting it recommended to me.
Neon Genesis
and I don't want to speak on it.
Well.
I don't want to, sort of talk about it without given how sort of like contentious a topic it might be in the online right. I don't want to be unfair.
Walrus. We're actually filling the niche here about the hard right weebs. You can't get the fill anywhere else.
I don't want to be the hard right weeb channel.
No, but I've seen a lot of like academic agents. Academic agents that's like banned anime, and Distributus doesn't want to touch on it. So like he's just like too trad for that stuff. But it's not beyond me.
I want to be open to it, because I agree that there's something there, but I like doing it. I want to give it like a proper shake, All right. And on that note, I think we should end the stream for tonight. Thank you all for watching, for joining us, and hopefully you'll be back next week, and we'll see you then. Remember to subscribe to Luddic Path, by the way, for extra memes.
Yeah, you're getting the Pepsi Man movie. It's coming out.
Yeah, Pepsi Man movie is coming out.
This is a solo video.
All right. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week.